Good evening. My name is Laura Zeiton, and I'm a member of the Select Board. Today is May 19th at 6:30 p.m., and to kick off our agenda this evening, our town clerk, Andy Dowd, will help us with the first agenda item.
Thank you, Laura. So traditionally, after the annual election in May, the board reorganizes the slate of officers for the coming year, and that would include chair, vice chair, and clerk for the board. So at this point, I'm going to call for nominations, and the first is chair. So would anyone like to make a nomination for someone to be chair?
I move the board to nominate Julian Hirsch to the position of chair.
Second. Oh, am I allowed to second?
Second?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
All right, motion made and seconded. Thank you very much. Do I have any other nominations for chair? Hearing none.
Yes, I do. I move the board vote to nominate Laura Zeiton as chair.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second. No.
Well, but if you,
Okay.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll close the nominations. Is there any discussion before we take a vote?
So thank you so much for the nomination. I greatly appreciate it. I've worked with Julianne for the last couple of years. I've loved her leadership style. I love her ability to collaborate. I love her knowledge that she's brought to the board in decisions, and it would be an honor to have her as our, I would love to have her as our chair for this year coming.
thank you. But, you know, you deserve it as well as anyone. It's a lot of work, but I accept the nomination. Thank you for the kind words. And yeah, everyone enjoys working with you, too. So I think between the two of us, we would be fine.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. So for Laura Zeiton as chair, all in favor? Seeing none, thank you. For Julianne Hirsch as chair, all in favor?
Oh, I got you.
The unanimous vote. Congratulations, Julianne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next we have the vice chair of the board.
Also, did we do a recording disclosure when we opened?
It's not required because you're all in person, so,
Okay.
Oh, no.
I'm so sorry. Spider.
okay.
It's like,
I know.
what possibly could we have done wrong this early in the meeting?
Like just a little.
Guys had enough.
Yeah, that's all.
Are you waiting for a motion?
Yes, I'll entertain motions for vice chair now, thank you.
I move the board vote to nominate Laura Zeiton to the position of vice chair.
Okay. Motion made and seconded, thank you. Any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, I'll close the nominations. Any discussion on that position before we vote? Okay, all those in favor for Laura Zeiton as vice chair? Unanimous, congratulations, Laura.
Thank you.
Great, and last but not least is clerk of the board. I'll entertain a motion for nomination for clerk.
I move the board vote to nominate Mike Tejan to the position of clerk.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other nominations for clerk? Seeing none, I'll close the nominations. All those in favor for Michael Tejan as clerk?
Aye.
Once again, unanimous. Congratulations, you all.
Thank you.
For all of you. I'm not from the south.
Y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
So I think we switch. Does it matter where we sit?
We don't have to switch.
Wait, who's vice? Chair.
Chair,
It has a
vice,
seal on the
clerk.
front of it.
I would switch, just because it's usually the chair right in the middle.
And is the vice chair here?
Oh, we were neighbors.
Where?
I'm sorry.
Very
Well,
briefly.
yeah, I'm just saying.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no problem.
Practically moved into that. Okay.
All right.
No, don't worry about it. I didn't even see Andy leave.
Oh,
Thank you.
thanks, Andy.
That was fast.
Julianne,
Oh, thank you.
I'll put on your chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
you.
Okay. Well, welcome, everyone. So first on the agenda is public comment. Thank you, Fran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Fran Backstrand, 76 Cedar Hill Road. This evening, I just want to ask all of you, I did have a casual conversation with a couple of you prior to this, that I do think it's very important to have public comment. I think that each of the boards, committees, and commissions have started to include it in their process as well. Having it, though, as under the former chairperson, having constant public comment on every agenda item is time-consuming, and it also disrupts the flow of your business meeting that you have before you. It's one thing for a resident to come up and make comments about the agenda item or a future agenda item, maybe beginning, middle, and end, but to have discussion, debate, and decision-making with the participation of just the random people who show up or listen is not fair to those people who did not see something on the agenda, and now it's in a full-blown discussion and potential vote and motions. So I would just urge you to continue to have public input, but try to limit it to the 3 minutes that is customary. I actually put the phone on so that I could see how long 3 minutes actually feels like. And encourage people to give some information about what is going to be on the agenda, what might have happened in the first half, what didn't happen at the end, but not at all 14 of your agenda items, out of respect for your own time, my time, staff time. It's a business meeting, and as the deciders of the business at hand, just try to manage it a little bit more productively, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I still have 1:20, so that's a long time, 3 minutes.
Yes, yes. Well, it's something to consider. Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Anybody virtually? No? Okay. Next on the agenda then is Town Board Committee Commission Liaison Appointments for Select Board Members. In our packet, we have a list of all of the boards and committees that we have been liaison to. I don't know if the new members have had a chance to look at it. So I'd like to have discussion about this, but I was thinking to be proactive that maybe we take this list and we all look at what we want to do. Maybe send me your first preferences, and that it would have to be at least 5 or 6. And then I can somehow put together a list that is hopefully agreeable to everyone. Does anyone have any other ideas on how to do that?
I mean, I think that's a good idea, and don't freak out. It doesn't mean you have to go to every single meet. It just means check in, bring back some information to the board, ask them if, you could be of any assistance to them. So it's not like, you have to be at 5 different meetings. But I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Jacob?
First, Madam Chair, are you okay with that, or do you have a different way you'd like us to address you?
Well,
Madam Chair. That's what I'm asking. Is Madam Chair good with you?
it's a little awkward. Julianne is fine.
Well,
But am I good with this?
yes, I like that. The only thing I would add is, for me being one of the new ones, it would be helpful to know from the 3 previously sitting members, if there were any that they're assigned to that they would like someone else to handle, because I'm not going to assume anyone wants me to jump into something that you all are doing just fine. So that's the only thing, is I'm a little bit concerned if I don't have an idea of that. I wouldn't want to volunteer for one that someone's just doing a fine job of, but I wouldn't know if they're looking to pass it on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know when I came on, I just kind of took over,
Kristen?
yeah, Kristen's board. So I don't know, for now, do we want to just assign them based on the seats that were filled, and then say, if we want to change them up, to send those to you to sort of reorganize it, just so that there's someone assigned, or is it all right if we wait for another meeting or two?
So that's a suggestion. Do you have any ideas, Laura, or?
I'll be honest, I've enjoyed being a liaison. I'm happy to switch any of the boards that I've gotten the opportunity to work with. It's a good, understanding of what they're working on. I like the continuity of those relationships, but I have no problem shifting it. I've enjoyed getting to know what they do, and I like the idea. I haven't been as proactive about bringing the suggestions back, so I think I could definitely improve on that going forward. So I think I like Mike's idea, if you guys want to just take two, at least so you've got an idea of what to work from.
That's what my thought is, sort of, right, so Jacob would take over Lisa's, John would take over Mitch's, and then we have at least something, we have a deck to play with. sort of, for
And then
lack
if
of
there's
better-
something that you're like, oh, I've been dying to know more about that, then,
Yeah,
let
let me
Julian
know.
know.
We can trade cards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
baseball cards.
So, I'm not trying to, I like that idea. It's fine with me.
Okay,
And then if you, I think,
we need a motion, or?
Steph, you can help with contact information
Oh, yeah,
for reaching the
absolutely.
different boards.
Absolutely, yep.
Okay, I don't think we need a formal vote on that.
No?
Okay, so you will let me know if you, and really, if you have something that you're super interested in, I'm sure that whoever is on that committee now, if there's, a duplication, we'll be happy to discuss. Okay, next on the agenda is Planning Director, request for letter of support for the borough's Route 9 corridor study.
Okay.
Lori's already here?
She's on, virtual.
Okay.
Bring her in.
Are you going to make her a
Want me to bring her
panelist?
in?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll bring her in.
I'll bring her in for us. Thank you.
Oh, there she is. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
All right. Congratulations, Julianne,
Thank you.
Is she?
on your new position.
My new position, yes, thank you.
So the reason why I'm here before you this evening is to ask for a letter of support. For those of you who were on the board previously, you may recall that I came before you in March to talk to you about a number of grant writing efforts that I was undertaking, and one of those was this project. So a little bit of background information for those who are new. I was approached by the Economic Development Director from the town of Southborough about joining forces with Southborough and Westborough on a borough's Route 9 corridor study. So the intent of this corridor study would be to look at a variety of issues that are confronting all three towns. Of course, traffic would be one of the issues, but also looking at economic developments, the current land uses in the area, the zoning for the three towns, what opportunities may present themselves that we may want to consider a modification of our zoning scheme. Also looking at utilities. One of the problems that certainly Northborough has been facing is that there is no sewer service to Route 9. And the other communities have the same issue. So some of our uses are, especially our two restaurants, are no longer functioning because of failing septic systems. So that's also a challenge for those communities. And so there really are just a variety of issues that we're interested in confronting. We did talk about the B-Walt Trail, so that was another thing. Of course, Westborough has been actively working towards constructing portions of the B-Walt Trail. So we may be interested in extending it from the Walmarts to the Northborough Town Line and Shrewsbury and beyond. So that's pretty much what this project is about. There is a required match of 10%. So the cost of the project would be about $150,000. So this would be a technical assistance grant. So they would pair us with a consultant. So the match that we are required to raise is $15,000. So split 3 ways, that would be $5,000 per town. With my next year's budget, I do have a small consultant budget. So I would be in the position of contributing that $5,000 as long as you folks provide that blessing. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
One point of clarification, so apologies if some of this has been discussed, I'm new to the board. So the 10% match is 10, if I understand correctly, is divided by 3 towns, so is it $1.5 million would be the grant, and we'd bring in 15K, 1.75, I'm trying to square some of the numbers. How does that work?
So it's 150,000.
150, oh, I see. And what's the
So
175
it's
approximately?
10% is 15,000.
Okay.
So split 3 ways, it's 5,000 per town.
What's the approximate cost of 175 grand? That would be higher than that amount. Or maybe it's not, maybe my math is wrong.
It's, the latest quote that we had was 150,000 would be the amount that the technical assistance grant would be for. Did I put 175,000 in my letter?
Yes, that's the confusion.
That-
But it's-
I think that's a typo, sorry about that.
But the 5,000 is correct, it seems like.
Yeah, so it's 150,000, so then it's 5,000 per town. So 10% of 150,000 is 15,000.
Thank you.
So are you looking to hire a consultant to do this evaluation of Route 9?
Yes.
And how will the consultant be chosen? Through
So
the
the
3?
state, so if we are able to secure this grant, this technical assistance grant, then the state will assign us a consultant.
Oh, okay.
Are we dependent upon Westboro or Southboro on this decision-making, or? Like if they were to say no?
Yeah, the way we framed it is, so those 2 communities have already vetted it with their leadership. And so the selectmen in March, this entity, had told me that they were supportive of the project. So they similarly went to their leadership and received the blessing as well. So at that time, I had explained that I'll be looking for a support letter. Of course, now the membership has changed, so 2 of you are new that were not there before. But I do anticipate that the other towns are on board.
Guys, good question.
Any other, go ahead, Laura.
So when will the grant be submitted, and when will we expect to hear back if we obtained it?
So the grant is due on June 4th, and I anticipate hearing sometime in the fall.
Perfect. And then with 3 towns participating, is there going to be like one town that manages it, or is it all 3 working simultaneously?
So Westboro has agreed to be the host community, so they are, so everything, all the paperwork would filter through them.
And is there going to be a big time crunch for you that's required? Is it going to be a hardship for you to complete it?
No, I don't think it's going to be a hardship. Of course, there is a certain amount of public outreach that would be part of this project. So I would assist with the coordination, and of course, there would be meetings which I'm not exactly sure at this point. We haven't received the scope of work, the final scope of work yet. It's something that we're kind of working on together. So there are 2 economic development directors and 3 planning directors. So there are 5 of us that are working together to put together this grant application. So it has taken some coordination, but of course, with all of these professionals, it makes the job easier in that it's not just one that's coming up with all of this. And the same would be true as the planning project moves along. So we can all work together to get the job done.
Thank you.
One question, Lori, so I would assume, right, any results from this study, if we get the grant, do the study, any of those improvements or anything are up to each municipality to implement and get approvals from its select board and town meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
So I anticipate that there will be some recommendations that will be like on a regional scale, but many of the recommendations will be individual town recommendations. Like, one of the things that we were also talking about, as you know, the WRTA had done a transit study that involved the towns of Westboro and Northborough. So there may be some recommendations that are, just for Westboro and Northborough, and then there are other recommendations that could be just Southborough and Westboro and the like. So I'm not quite sure at this point, but I anticipate there'll be regional recommendations as well as individual recommendations. And then it's up to each community to decide whether they want to go forward with those recommendations or not.
One quick question. Of course, totally support being good neighbors with our friends. And given the amount being asked for this, I don't think asking for a 1/3 contribution is unreasonable. Through the process, though, let's say hypothetically, there is a regional recommendation that says it's going to cost $5 million total for XYZ sewer extension from here to there. Where in the process would someone be looking out for Northborough's interest, given that we've got like a tiny, tiny fraction of property touching this corridor compared to the other 2? I wouldn't want to get to that point and say, well, Northborough, give us your 1/3, just like you did at the start. Where could you see that kind of?
Yeah, I don't see that happening, honestly, because of course we do have sewer on Otis Street. So if the town wanted to bring sewer down to Route 9, then we wouldn't need our neighboring communities to make that happen. We'd just go ahead and do it, or not.
I guess to Jacob's point, like, what do you hope to get out of this? Like, I feel like we know our corridor pretty closely, and that Route 9, Westboro's got a bit of it, and then Southwest's got the front end, we got the back end. Like, what do we hope to get out of this?
Well, having a closer relationship with our neighbors, I think, would be helpful, a more collaborative relationship. And also, just to learn from each other as well, what works well in Northborough, maybe the town of Westboro could learn from that, or the town of Southborough. We can kind of learn from each other what works, what doesn't work. And then there may be recommendations, particularly from an economic development standpoint. Of course, we've been talking about getting more involved with economic development. The other 2 communities have economic development directors. We do not. So, but there may be a possibility of like marketing the region. So it's not just, hey, we're marketing Route 9 in Northborough, our tiny little stretch. It could be that we're launching like a marketing campaign for Route 9 in our 3 communities. So these are what our 3 communities have to offer business, please come our way. And like I said, there could be opportunities to look at how Westboro zones their stretch of Route 9 versus how we zone our stretch of Route 9. And maybe there are certain uses that we would want to add to our use table. Maybe other uses we want to take away. So that would be another benefit. But this is a voluntary exercise. So, of course, there will be community outreach. So there most likely will be some sort of survey as well as some sort of workshop. Chances are a regional workshop, but possibly also a Northborough specific workshop. So it's not creating this plan in a vacuum. It does involve community outreach, hearing from the community as to what they would like to see on Route 9.
And just as you had, I believe, said, Lori, the Community One-Stop Growth Community Planning Grant Program, that's a state-funded grant?
That is,
All right,
yes.
so if we were to get the grant and get the state to provide a consultant, and then would additional state money possibly follow that for improvement? So would that put you in a good position to argue for additional grants, being that the state's already provided funding for the improvement plan to figure that out?
Yes. So typically, the way the state works is they like to see that you are planning first, and then you are acting afterwards. So you are acting on the recommendations in the plan. So if, for example, I know I talked to you folks about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now, about potential sewer extension to Route 9. So if you decided that you wanted to go forward with that in the future, it would give us some extra bonus points if they saw that we had a Route 9 corridor study that made that recommendation.
Just so I'm clear, it's Otis Street where Walmart is. Is that the beginning of Northborough on Route 9? I'm not an expert at it.
Correct. So Walmart is in Northborough, and Walmart does have sewer service.
But just if I think simply across what Route 9 is and what the opportunity is, the Northborough part of Route 9 starts at Otis Street or start a little before?
A little after, well, past
Yeah,
McDonald's,
so
I think.
Past
it
McDonald's?
pretty much goes
Like right
from
before the side entrance to
the Walmart to the O'Connell Lodge.
It
So
sort
we
of
get
cuts
like
diagonal.
that, we get Motel 6. We get the adult video store, and we get the gun store, and we get the closed mini golf place. That's like the opportunity
Well,
in
when you
front
put
of
it
us.
that way.
No, I just want to like frame what the opportunity we're talking about is that, just so I'm a visual
know.
person. But that's the opportunity that, like, someone says, what's in it for Northborough? It's what I illustratively described, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, so our planning area includes a 1,000 linear foot circle around Route 9. So it would include some of Route 20, so the interchange with Route 20. So it would go as far north as the lower section of Northborough Crossing. So it would include a little bit of Avalon. It would include the New England baseball, a little bit of the Carewell, and then a small portion of Lawrence Street, north of the Motel 6. So it's the land uses 1,000 feet from the midpoint of Route 9
Thank you.
would be encompassed within the project area.
Any other questions, comments? I have two quick questions. Is Route 9 a state road
It is.
in Northborough? Okay. And I just want to be clear about Jacob's point. If we get this, this recommendation, some recommendations on what to do on Route 9, and say it's something really expensive, at that point, we're not making any promises to the other two towns that we're going to go the next step automatically. Okay,
Correct.
all right, then. Again, any other questions? Then I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move the board vote to submit a letter of support for the borough's Route 9 corridor study as presented by the planning director.
Second.
Moved by Laura, seconded by Mike Tejan. This can be a hand vote. All those in favor of the recommendation letter? Unanimous vote. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Have a
all
good
that
night.
information. Okay, next up is another grant.
David isn't on, is he? I just want to double check.
I don't think so. No, I don't see
Okay.
him.
Yes, so we have another grant. This is a cybersecurity grant for training for all of our staff. It's federal with a match from the state, so $29,375 through the Municipal Local Cybersecurity Grant Program, which is federal. And the $23,500 of the award amount is being funded by FEMA, and the remaining $5,875 is that state match from the Commonwealth's Office of Grant and Research. This is actually great. I partook in cybersecurity training in Holden, and it's things you don't think of every day, and there's been many towns that have been ransom attacked, and it's, everybody's name, but they miss like the N, and you're just so used to like, oh, there's Michael Tejan, but it's Michael T with the missing J-E-N. So it's like, you really have to start to focus now. It can cost us a lot of money, a lot of time. So I think it's a great program, and I hope to get started. So what the state will do is send out modules to each department, and they'll have to take little quizzes, and they either pass or they fail, and then if they fail, they have to redo it. So it's a little bit of time, but trust me, it's important, given this climate of, cyber attacks.
Any comments?
I'm so happy that we're moving forward with this, so thank you. I would, so just my only question with FEMA, if the grant is canceled because of some of the FEMA stuff that's going on, would that affect us at all?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, not at all. The town's not being asked anything
Okay.
monetarily. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm excited to see this.
Yeah.
Questions, comments?
And this will be for all town staff?
Yes.
Will be able to participate?
Yep.
And they'll be able to complete the trainings during normal hours?
Yes,
Okay.
they will. Yep. Yeah, believe me, they probably wouldn't take one. But you just, and it keeps giving you reminders, so you're like, oh, all right. But
Yeah.
it's good that it pushes you. Not that I was frustrated, I was so excited.
I think those layers of security are really important, and I think in ransomware, the most innocent mistake can result in a lot of expensive repairs for the town.
Right.
So I'm happy this is,
Yep. And
Where
it's
do the
like
mistakes usually happen? Because-
links, attachments, opening attachments, yeah, but it's mostly a link, and that's it. That's where the virus enters, so, yeah, it can happen to anybody, but it's serious.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, or if you get an email from Administrator Bacon asking you to buy her some iTunes gift cards,
Yep,
probably
right.
don't fall for it.
I'm in Nigeria. Can you quit?
I think this is a great idea. I think this kind of training is not only good for employees of the town, everyone should have, should learn these kinds of things to protect themselves, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yep.
Go
Can I ask
ahead.
one more question, please? Would it be possible for us to see in an executive session to review the results of the recent assessment that this was based on? I don't know if that's allowed or not, but if it could be something.
Yeah, let me check into where, this was prior to my
Yeah,
time?
it says here in the letter, it said that there was,
Oh, from the first?
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
just to
Yep,
see what.
David knows about that.
Just to see what we need to be aware of.
Yeah, yep, okay.
Thank you.
David.
I might be making my fellow members angry with me, but since we have town email, should we be doing the modules?
Oh, you will be. Oh, yeah, I know. It's exciting
All
stuff.
right, so it's not because I suggested it, it's
No.
automatic. Okay, so planning board, I think, also has town email, they'll have to do it too.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Any other questions or comments? Then I will entertain a motion to accept this grant.
Madam Chair,
Jacob.
I move the board vote to accept the award of grant funds for the Municipal Local Cybersecurity Grant Program and authorize the MIS GIS Director to expend said funds for that purpose pursuant to MGL Chapter 44, Section 53A.
Second.
Let's do a hand vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Moving right along. Next on the agenda is,
White Cliffs, right? Is that number
right,
6?
discussion regarding award of White Cliffs bid.
Yes, so, back in April, we received 2 bids from a request for proposal that was put out. And, in the interim, do you mind just passing? Sure. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh, good. So just pass these out. So. Thank you. We contacted town council regarding both, and we found out that we're not able to go into executive session for any type of negotiations. We also found out at last town meeting that the townspeople wanted to, either vote or deny a possible lease or sale of White Cliffs. So with that, I figured we could, if you look at this email, the first part, the item of concerns, one respondent, which was Nikki's Garden of Hope, submitted their proposal but failed to comply with 2 requirements. One was the tax compliance non-collusion form wasn't provided, and then the price proposal was part of the technical proposal and not in a separate envelope. So we asked whether or not this disqualifies them. Within the RFP, it said, please put your scope in a separate envelope from the pricing. If we go down to Elegant Banquets, some unique conditions. They requested a 40-year, $1 per year lease with a 2 10-year extension at the same rate to be declared by the tenant. Then the respondent requested a 45-day due diligence period between an agreement to lease and execution of the lease. And 3, the lease is to be conditional upon receipt of grants/tax credits. Number 4, another condition was that the plans will be approved and building permits issued. We understood the development of land agreements are contingent upon the issuance of land use permits, but building permits is a bit different. So, with that, if you go to the next page, the response from town council for Nikki's Gardens, Attorney Klein stated Nikki's Gardens of Hope did not comply with the requirements to complete the compliance tax collusion form and to include the price proposal separately from the technical proposal. In her opinion, the town may accept this proposal. The RFP states in section entitled RFP Technical and Logistical that the town reserves the right to waive any irregularities in proposals received when such waiver is in its best interest, so long as the proponent completes the tax collusion form prior to the award. In her opinion, this irregularity is not fatal to the submission. Moreover, it's not required under Chapter 30B, Section 16, that the price proposal and technical proposal be separate. We included it in the RFP to be that way, just so it was more of a fair process. We weren't fixated on pricing, but it's just like Scott was saying, it's like you're showing your cards at a poker game. Well, they decided to show their cards, so be it. With Eloquent Banquets LLC, the conditions requested by them are not uncommon, and the town may, should it elect to do so, negotiate with the proposer around these conditions and the timeframes for completion. I do agree that Elegant Banquets LLC should not be permitted on the property without an agreement with the town, either a license or a purchase and sale agreement. I recommend incorporating a due diligence period of 45 days into the purchase and sales agreement. If the proposer is not satisfied with the condition of the property, the agreement could be terminated without recourse by the town. The agreement could also state that the lease is subject to Eloquent Banquets LLC obtaining certain grant/tax credits and issuance of approvals, including building permits for the intended use. I also note that another condition would be a rezoning of the property. All of these items could be conditions precedent to a closing. For example, entering into a lease for the property, failing which Elegant Banquets LLC could terminate the transaction. Ordinarily, assuming the proposer has acted reasonably with due diligence, this would be without penalty. Indeed, Nikki's Garden of Hope would likely have similar conditions, as it will be looking for $20 million in federal and state funding, and there may be zoning approvals needed for its intended use. The town would want to have a reasonable time frame included into a purchase and sale agreement with the successful proposer, and if the milestones are not achieved, the town could terminate the agreement. So with that, in speaking about the process and how we choose which respondent to go with, we could invite both of them in, and it has to be public, so a public process here, and have them go over their project. We could ask them questions about, their intended use, and I guess now you could get into their financial security, because that's a very important gauge of who we choose and who would really be able to properly preserve the White Cliffs. And then we could have the select board vote to select a preferred respondent. And Katie, again, I quoted that, oh no, that wasn't, but when I asked her about executive session, she said the select board may not meet in executive session with either of the proponents. Executive session, in the case of Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, may occur to discuss the purchase, sale, disposition, or value of land when the chair declares that an open session may have a detrimental effect on negotiating position of the town. So, since they're both lease options, we're not selling the property, so that cannot be done. Everything has to be done in public. And then we could bring the results of the negotiations to then a special town meeting, deciding whether or not the zoning board would give us a variance to rezone that property. Right now, where the house stands is zoned residential, and then the front of the property is business. So there's, many reasons why that wouldn't work for, anything. So we'll see, at that point, of course, we could go before the ZBA first, see if they would give us a variance, and if not, then we could bring it to town meeting to rezone. How do you feel about that process?
Well, first of all, our new members haven't seen the RFPs, have they? Have you?
I have not.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you, everything I've learned was what we heard in public meeting, in a town meeting, what the select board talked about at a previous meeting, and then this. So this is about as up to speed as I am. I'm generally aware of the proposals because they were described to the town at the town meeting, but I haven't gotten any papers. And I'm not trying to slow down the process at all, but
Oh, not at all.
want to absorb them a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I'll email them tonight. Just to give you a brief overview, Nikki's Garden of Hope, they would like 2 floors for intellectually disabled adults. So I would say, 18 years and older. And then they wanted a kind of a co-ownership, so they reference possibly a speakeasy in the basement, or, artists artistry section. So they would be co-owned. I'm not quite sure how that would work. We would have to look into that. And then Elegant Banquets, they have 4, this would be almost like White Cliffs used to be, but they're a high-end venue for weddings, and they have a very similar, they're all in beautiful historic buildings. That's their forte. And there's one, I believe, in Connecticut that is very comparative to White Cliffs. So they would have, the bride suite, they would have basically a new ballroom put on, and they gave, examples of how that would look, and, but their main interest is preserving as well. And the grounds within both RFPs, we stated that we wanted community involvement in some way, shape, or form. So both respondents did say that we could, either have meeting space, we could have events there, of course, when they're not conducting typical business, but that was a big part of it, whether we use the grounds outside or the space inside.
Steph, what is the Connecticut corollary you described? Like, what is the name of the property? Where is it?
I have a slideshow that I prepared for the board, so I'll send you guys that too.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
And then I also noticed that they did not comply with the 2 separate envelopes. What I'm reading from that, I don't know if it's correct, is that we did get some insight into their price proposal from that. They showed the cards, I think you said.
In Nikki's Gardens.
Nikki's Gardens?
Yes.
Like, I look at item of concern to be Nikki's Gardens and unique conditions to be Elegant Banquets. Is that
Yes,
right?
correct.
So,
Absolutely.
not to call Nikki's Gardens item of concern, I'm just looking at this. But, what do they offer? I see a 40-year $1 lease in Elegant Banquets with the renewal rights described. But what did Nikki's Gardens offer?
Nikki's Gardens wanted, they wanted basically help with, I believe, CPC, so CPC funding, and altogether it totaled $20 million. And I think it was also specific grants that were meant for historic buildings, so they were looking for that type of financial help. I don't know if they were open to negotiate because they had that co-ownership situation, and I am not sure, because we haven't spoken with them yet, how that would work. If they would just start out with, the 2 floors that they needed for their intellectual disabled group, and they said they needed, some type of living quarters like kitchen, and, there would be other healthcare professionals there on a daily basis. And it seemed like they were going to be in the upper floors, because they were saying, okay, well, you could go down the stairs with the speakeasy, and so I'd really love to get them in here to just see really how the layout would be, and, yeah. They seem to really love the space and think they could make it work. I just am not sure on how they would make it work with the other people and the amount of work that has to be done to the building.
And there is additional information that Jacob and I can see that, I mean, I don't want to slow down this meeting. Like, if I can.
No,
get
no,
smarter
no.
about it.
No, this is for discussion only, so it's perfect. We do need to work pretty quick because we don't want to lose any viable respondents, but I will send you out that PowerPoint as well as the RFPs.
So, that'd be great, thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead, Laura.
I was just going to ask, would it be possible for us to schedule another tour of the White Cliffs so that the new board members could see it?
I'd be happy
And have
to.
a good foundation?
Oh, yeah,
for-
absolutely.
For that?
Yep.
And while we're at it, we could do 4 West Main, too.
Yeah, good idea.
That's actually a great idea. Yeah, we should do that. Okay.
One question I had was regarding council's comments about the issues with the submission for Nikki's Garden of Hope. That it was not fatal, I guess you would mean sort of legally fatal.
Legally, because it's not a condition of Chapter 30B, but we had it as a condition in our RFP. So if the board said, all right, that's fine, you showed your cards, the other, respondent didn't, it's on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we as
so
a board could decide that that is fatal. That
You
they didn't
could.
follow the instructions.
Right, yeah.
When you're hiring people and you ask for a resume and cover letter, and all you get is a resume, you're not usually going to bring that person in for an interview. I know we only got 2.
I gave my cover letter.
Exactly. We only got 2 submissions, so I could certainly see why you can make an argument about giving them a pass, but it seems like Elegant Banquets, from the other material that we saw, this isn't new for them. They've done this before, and they followed the instructions in the submission to make sure that they wouldn't get thrown out. To me, that probably lends itself to other things down the road, just from my own experience and all kinds of things. So I would consider moving forward with just inviting in Elegant Banquets, just because the other submission didn't follow those instructions. I know the school department recently had an RFP for food vendors where something similar happened, where a vendor submitted its financials in the general proposal and not separate, and they were immediately thrown out. Granted, they had more than 2, I think they had 3 or 4, but they went ahead and, they didn't follow the instructions, so they went ahead and did not consider that vendor. So I think it's something we have to, maybe consider is because of that, is it worth it to bring in both of them? If one didn't follow the instructions and one did?
Yeah, that absolutely could be the decision of the board,
I
absolutely.
think that the counter would be, it's always beneficial to have a multi-bidder process, and I share your concerns about not being able to follow instructions and what that can mean in terms of the seriousness of the bidder. I'm new, I've never met either of these entities, but I do share that concern. Like, if you didn't do this, what does that mean for the future? I do like a multi-bidder process. I also, what's not clear to me is, like, I understand the legal counsel, but it takes legal and it takes someone that's negotiating on behalf of the town. I wouldn't expect legal to negotiate on behalf of the town. Who's negotiating on behalf of the town?
You guys are.
Thank
And
you.
then we're going to town meeting, yep,
Perfect. And that's why I like a multi-bidder process,
yep. Yep.
as one person.
Hard to negotiate when there's only one option, is what you're saying.
I like a multi-bidder process. I mean, it'd be great if another bidder came in, and I just like the idea that we can approach it a bit open-minded, but your concerns are the same concerns I have, Mike. This is not
Right.
like trying to pretend that these aren't real concerns.
Well, and we wouldn't necessarily be if we invited both of them in, we're not gonna negotiate an open meeting and be like, well, we don't wanna do 40, we wanna do 25. Are you game for, all right? It's gonna be, they present their proposals, we kind of think it over, make a decision on who to go with, and then enter specific negotiations.
Yes, but they just have to all be public,
Right.
yes.
That's good,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
So I
uh-huh.
want to clear up what you said. You like the multi-bid process, but you are also have the same concerns as me.
Well, when I see, I think when you look at seriousness of bid, and you give clear protocol on what the rules are, and someone doesn't follow the rules, that bid, 2 bids, everything else equal, one bid is clearly less risky or more attractive than the other. This is nuanced property, it's nuanced bidders, so I do like the idea of fleshing this out a little bit more and getting some more exposure to the seriousness of the bidders and what, and I do, Steph, I'm not gonna, depend on you to, give the total business plan for Nikki's Gardens, but again, it wasn't clear based on our conversation with the business plan, and so I would like to flesh that out a little bit more. and not just totally shut down Nikki's Garden of Hope, but maybe engage a little bit and understand it a bit more because I'm coming into it new.
In their co-ownership process of how
So
that would
just
happen.
in terms of moving forward, you are hesitant about having both of these entities come and speak to us? You would,
What I would say is if there was support of the board to make a decision to not consider one of them because of the adherence to the rules, but it doesn't sound like there's support of the board for that, so I just wanted to air my concerns.
yeah, no, and they're very legitimate. But you're saying that you would like to hear from both?
At this stage, my preference would be to hear from both, but I totally agree with the way you
Right.
framed out. Like,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
the same
if
thing
there
that's
was,
going on in my
if we had
head.
agreement that like, yeah, we don't want to move forward with one because of how the rules were laid out and how they were not followed, I'm not looking to sort of have a lengthy floor fight over it, but just to air, what my concerns were. If there was some agreement to that, then I think, we could move forward. But if there's agreement to move forward with bringing them both in, then, agreement, let's, we can move, I'd be supportive of moving forward with that.
Okay. Okay, so there's no vote tonight,
No.
but how do we agree that we would like to hear from both of from Nikki's and Elegant
Well,
Banquet?
it seems everybody, I mean, you
Is
could-
there consensus?
If you want to take a
Bring them in.
vote, to have both in, or,
Yeah, I haven't spoken, but I'm just kind of on board with this conversation. I think if we had 5 applicants and one of them didn't do the technical things, that's an easy way to knock that one out. And I think because we have 2, for the same reasons Mr. Ray expressed, I'm kind of hesitant to knock one out on the technicality, while it's duly noted that they did have a technicality. I'm a little also concerned about the zoning needs. I mean, it's easy to say, well, have town meeting change the zoning. Okay, then is it going to be subject to spot zoning challenges? Can the ZBA grant a variance? I don't know. I don't even know what relief they'd be needing at this point, so it's all really speculative, but I don't want it to be seemed like, even if everyone says this is a great idea, that legally it can be done. I don't know, is what I'm getting at. I don't know enough to even, but when it says a condition would be a rezoning of the property, we cannot, I don't believe, say, this parcel is zoned residential and I'd like to zone it industrial. That's called spot zoning, and generally that's not allowed. Now, reasons can be given for why a variance can be given based on the standards of a variance. I know that there's been moves to try to remove the use variance at all from our, well, I'll call quiver of tools, but maybe there could be a use variance that would solve their issue. Point is, I don't even know what they would be needing, but it shouldn't be considered a trivial thing that could be done quickly.
Although if that section was not rezoned and remained, I mean, it was residential 10 years ago when it was operating as an event space.
it was.
How did they do that? Were they grandfathered in somehow? Do you remember, Diane?
So it probably would have lost its ability to keep doing it because they went for a period of 2 years without doing it. Then you lose your ability to keep doing.
Okay, so maybe that's.
I'm
what
not
they-
trying to give advice here, as I sent you guys a whole letter.
Right.
But
I
that's
did-
my concern, is that if that's going to be a condition, that maybe needs to get fleshed out a little bit more. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
And then there's a risk of like, okay, so if we knocked out Garden of Hope because of a technicality and Elegant Banquets had a zoning issue, now we're like, now what? Like, we got nothing? Like, I hope not. And then thirdly, in the back of my mind is, I know you all have been working very hard to get offers for a long time, so I don't want to like rip the Band-Aid off of the wound that's healing already because we at least got 2 offers, but it's like, gee, wouldn't it be great if we had even more? And I don't even want to necessarily open up with like what would be required to try to get more, because I know that's exactly what you did. So I'm just airing out those thoughts in my mind. I don't know that there's any action to take right now on that. But at the same time, if zoning precludes Elegant Banquets from doing because of what they want to do, and again, I don't want to get over our skis, but like, what if there's a scenario where neither of these 2 work, then what do we do? You know?
I would say it's back to the drawing board. That's why we left the RFP with the exception of, we wanted some type of community use. We left it pretty open, lease, sale, anything under the sun. But, yeah, so we got two.
Anyway, but to answer the first question, Madam Chair, I like I'm supportive of the idea of having both of these come in. Absolutely, I
Okay.
think it's a good idea.
Okay, but now, the zoning points that Jacob just brought up, where in the timeline of this whole process would, it seems like we should get the information quickly to see how difficult it will be to get a variance or a spot
Yeah,
zone?
I wish Lori Connors was still on, but she did look into it, and supposedly ZBA could,
Okay.
they don't have to.
For sure.
They could, so if they didn't, then we would try to go to town meeting to.
Got it.
change the
But
zoning.
at this point, we would go to the zoning board and just say, what is your feeling about this right now?
Right.
Would you? Okay. All right, okay, so my concern is that if it's rezoned and neither of these materialize, then we've rezoned for anybody to come in. Can the rezoning be subject to the entity that we choose? Am I making sense?
Yeah, you are making sense, yep.
Can it?
I would say if we got to an agreement, an official agreement that we're ready to take to town meeting, that might be the time to then seek approval. And if not, it would have to go to town meeting anyway, along with the vote for the awardee.
Okay.
And wouldn't both proposals require some level of rezoning? I mean, Gardens of Hope was having commercial entities on the
Right.
bottom floor, so
Yep.
it's not just elegant, it would be Nikki's Garden of Hope that would also require
Oh,
rezoning.
yeah, pretty much any use that
Any
goes in
use,
there.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Steph, just reading closer, like, it says the RFP is attached along with 3 pages pertinent to this concern from Scott to Katie. We'll get those after to see what the.
Oh, yeah, I'll
be.
send them
Okay.
tonight. Yep,
Cool.
absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks.
And the PowerPoint.
And one more thing that always comes up, and I'm never really clear on it, the preservation status.
Yes, so along with that, when the vote, if we go to town meeting with the person that you've chosen, they would also have to, we'd put the deed restrictive language in there,
Okay,
and we need that in there because we borrowed money, from the CPC
yeah.
in order to purchase the property.
okay. So, yeah, go
And
ahead.
just a quick question on that. Have we had the CPC weigh in yet, or do we need to have them weigh in as to whether either or both of these would be able to be done consistent with that restriction?
Oh, yeah, as long as they're preserving the property, then yes.
Okay.
It would be in, but again, now that it's a public situation, John Campbell actually just got in touch with me, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't want to have like, okay, we're getting 90% of the way through, and then someone says, well, that's not consistent with the restriction. Then we're like, now what?
Yeah, right, I know.
Okay, is there anything else you need from us on
No,
this?
no, except, well, I guess what we can do, we'll work on the scheduling to have them in, in between now and the next meeting. So we have everything defined, and whether or not, I'll talk about the following meeting agenda, but maybe we could have them in ahead of time. I just don't want so much time to pass and them
Yes,
to walk
yeah.
or,
Lose
you know,
interest.
take
We don't
another,
want-
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
opportunity, yeah.
Okay,
And then will you be able to get the dates out for a tour so we can go check those out before that meeting
Absolutely,
as well?
yep, I have that on my list too.
Okay,
all right.
thank you.
You're okay if we
welcome.
move on then?
Absolutely.
Okay, next on the agenda is consideration of options for 4 West Main. So I guess that would be discussing the Municipal Building Reuse Committee, correct?
Yeah, that was what was brought up at the previous board, to resurrect a committee, to look at what we want, and I don't know if, I believe the charge that I had written was in there, but, in the packet.
Yeah.
I just don't know what, oh, yeah, it's in there, right? Yeah, perfect. I just don't know where it stands now. If the appetite was to do the same thing, be a little broad or be more specific in the RFP and see what we get, and then bring it to town meeting for voter approval. So it's up to you guys. But I think it's great that we'll take a walk soon so everyone can see the changes that will need to be made due to the building code, due to, some leaks in the building, due to prior uses, the way it's shifted and set up. So it's kind of like, somebody has to have a vision, go in there and gut out the inside.
Yeah, it's rather eye-opening going into that building.
Right, yeah. It looks gorgeous from the outside. I love the building, but just you get inside and you're like, wow.
So, a municipal building reuse committee would include 4 West Main and the current fire station?
Yeah, it could.
So maybe in this proposal, it should, and I don't think there's any other buildings that we would have to, right?
I think that's it, thank goodness.
Now, is there though any value, right? So we put out an RFP for White Cliffs and we got responses, and we're going to be bringing them in for an interview. And I did initially vote to form this committee in the last select board session. But is there some value in still putting out an RFP now to see if we get somebody or groups to make a submission for that building and have something to work with for possibly a special town meeting in the fall? I just worry that another committee, kind of hearing the feedback from town meeting, are we kind of slowing things down and maybe spending more staff time and more money to kind of figure out what we maybe already have and can just
Yeah.
maybe move forward with an RFP just to see what we would get?
I just feel like right now we have to be open. We can't be I think it began from what I've heard, very specific, and we don't want this, we don't want that, and it kind of kept
Yeah.
boxing you in.
Well, and I think the feedback from town meeting is we can't do that.
Right.
Like, I think at least I think so, that we have to be more open and be less Northborough and try and get something, into that building and some development going. And we also have a fairly nice-looking presentation on what to do with street improvements if somebody wants to make an offer on the building.
Yeah, I
So
think,
that's my only concern is like, there seems to be, we have some momentum with White Cliffs. Maybe we, try and get some momentum with 4 West Main, and try and see if we can get a proposal on that building, or more than one proposals that we can take seriously and review, rather than going another committee route, maybe getting to that same place, but a year from now, or
Yeah.
longer.
and the
So-
feedback from town meeting was, well, what's going to happen at, even 4 West Main and Blake Street and with the people that, who knows what type of business, how their people are going to come in and out and what hours and where they're going to need to park. And we just don't know that yet, so it's hard to plan around that building if we
Right.
don't know the building's use.
And we have a fairly good breakdown of that building from the town hall feasibility committee and all the work that they did, all the exhaustive work and all the effort and money and time that went into that. That architect did, I think, give a fairly straightforward review of that building and sort of what it, that it really isn't realistic to use as a town hall because of the constraints and the costs. So a private sector solution is probably what's needed, similar to White Cliffs. And that, are we just kind of, just again, the committee just kind of slowing things down and pushing it even further down the road where we've owned that building for, 2 years now, or something like that?
Yep.
And just more costs and maintenance costs on the town as opposed to a new owner or leasee, so.
Comments? Other comments?
I kind of like Mr. Teachin's comments about generally the feeling of town meeting. I agree, that's kind of the feeling I got as well. I have a little bit of just hesitation of having another committee that, just based on what I didn't know the context where I was reading it. I wasn't sure if this was this has been done, or this is what we're thinking about doing. So when I read it, I was like a little bit, just not sure what was that. But having read it, now that you've explained this was the previous one, it makes sense that it's got the same appointments as the previous one. My comment was going to be, I don't know that it makes a lot of sense to make another reuse committee with essentially the same people on it. Then I'm just like having the nightmare of like, okay, and then we're gonna have another $300,000 study and learn all the same things we already know, and that's kind of
Yeah.
my reaction to that. But at the same time, I'm like, I could be certainly convinced to support it. But I'm like, where my initial thought was, is we did learn a lot about that building with the town hall feasibility study. Now, we weren't looking at it from the lens of what else could this building be used for? True, and that's a great question, but I think, the best people to decide what could this building be used for is people in the business of finding use for these kinds of buildings, and.
Right, it's like even if we came up with a suggestion, they would, like, does anybody wanna?
So if you're watching this, find a friend who wants to
Yeah,
buy
right.
it for us.
Right,
No, but I'm, absolutely like the idea, if it makes sense, to go down the process of soliciting proposals.
I agree with both. I think, Mike, I think you framed it pretty well, like the idea of committees and studies. I mean, this is where I see the gap of not having an economic development committee, like, shines through loud and clear. We should be able to communicate what the town wants. We should be able to have those conversations in an organized way where people know where to talk to, and we're not set up that way. And so, like, I mean, everyone knows my passion prior to joining this board is the Economic Development Committee is something that we really need to energize around. I'd love to see what the market brings us. If we communicate well, and we kind of say what Northborough wants, and we can, and the residents, you'll see the support, I'm sure, then we'll see what the market brings us, rather than us trying to get lucky and try to see if we can just tap the market accidentally. So that my bias is to try to figure out how to address that and not just set up committees.
We have a guest who would like to speak. Please, Mr. Leaf. Rick Leaf is the chairperson of the Master Plan Implementation Committee, just so you all know. And we've been discussing downtown
Yes,
for 2 years?
at least. Yeah, Rick Leaf, 30 Wiles Farm Road. Yeah, so in a certain sense, you already have a committee. The Master Plan Implementation Committee pulled out of the master plan downtown is the key factor that residents want to see something about. And so we've done a lot of discussion about it, and we hired a consulting firm that wrote a downtown revitalization plan. It spends quite a bit of time talking about 4 West Main Street and Blake Street and the fire station, which is going to become vacant. So I think at a minimum, that plan should be consulted and read over to understand what was possible things that could be done with those buildings. And if a building reuse committee decides to be formed, it would make sense to have someone from the MPIC represented on that committee. If a committee is not formed, which I have no predisposition for one way or another, I think that the RFP that's going to be written should take as at least a beginning point some of the recommendations out of the downtown revitalization plan as to what the possible uses of both of those buildings are, and then modified, changed, amplified, however the town sees fit. But to a certain extent, the MPIC has been kind of acting as an ad hoc economic development committee as far as the downtown goes, and a lot of work has already been done to come up with some general ideas about what can happen there. So I just suggest that you sort of take advantage of that in whatever route you decide to follow. Don't let that all go to waste kind of thing. Use that as a basic point. And then if you'd like the MPIC to be involved one way or another in the development of this, or the helping review RFPs or provide some input to the process, that's something we'd like to do, because that committee is very eager, as you saw from town meeting, to get some things going down there in that area of town. And so let's just kind of use that and have the MPIC work cooperatively with whatever approaches is developed here to look at 4 West Main, and, we feel the fire station is also a great opportunity. And as we said, we view Blake Street as a great connector between those two buildings. So somehow that all has to come together. And as long as the MPIC is working cooperatively with whatever you guys decide, I think that's the best approach.
So are you saying, you would advise us to look at both buildings together rather than separately? If one is used for one thing, then something else would be complemented in, say, the fire station?
Yeah, I'm not sure, even the downtown revitalization plan didn't link the two buildings themselves, except I think some of the possible uses of the two buildings could be complementary. But if you decided to just look at 4 West Main now, the master plan, downtown revitalization plan talks in quite a bit of detail about 4 West Main. If you decided to look at both buildings simultaneously, the plan talks about, the uses of both buildings and how Blake Street connects them. So that could be done, also. The main thing, the point I'm trying to make is that an RFP or decision-making on 4 West Main shouldn't be done independently of the work the MPIC has already done and the information that's in the downtown revitalization plan.
Thank you. Any questions for Rick?
No, thank you.
That's the 2024 recent study, I think,
Yes,
right? Okay.
That came out of the 2020 master plan, and that was completed in 2024.
Yep.
That's all available on the website someplace.
And I think the right schedule for West Main is vacant now. So if we start on that, and then by the time, the current fire station clears out, then we can roll into a next RFP. So we don't have to do them simultaneously, because right now, one building's completely vacant. It has been vacant. That's just,
Yeah, we couldn't realistically do an RFP for the soon-to-be old fire
Right.
station because it's
Right.
full of fire.
right, yeah, like, you're out, you're out.
But,
Yeah.
so I guess one of the things that I'd like to bring up is that there has been some requests for a community center in town, and, or some kind of community space, whether it's part of 4 West Main or the entire fire station, whatever it is. And I think that should be in the discussion of all of this. And also, I hope you all got an email from Jen Tolman today saying that, there's the idea of using 4 West Main, if possible, cleaning up a little section of it for some pop-up art displays, exhibits. So, Laura, we haven't heard from you.
Oh, I've enjoyed the conversation. I'm sorry, I definitely agree with avoiding a committee. I liked Mr. Leaf's comment to include some of the suggestions from the MPIC study on downtown for ideas for the RFP, but then keeping it open-ended so that we have a wider array of responses for that proposal. Is that what you're asking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, more public comment. Susan Sartori. I don't know the number of your house.
It's 465 Green Street. I agree with the gentleman. There was a really sound message coming from town meeting. They don't want to keep spending money till they see and figure out how we're going to make some money. So I think we really do have to pursue and see whether or not there's any source of revenue coming from 4 Main Street. As far as a community center, I don't know if the master plan calls for one. So I don't know if that's really in the plan. I do know as a member of financial planning that this particular committee he's speaking of with the planning board has a 5-year plan in the capital plan right now for $8 million. And their first project was the one that got voted down. So there's a lot of money that's coming forward from this committee without a plan. They don't have, it's the phase 2 and the phase 3. So I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done to figure out how we go forward to do their plans and implement them. And I think there's a lot more work that has to be done with financial committees here in town to understand how we pay for all of this. And then, to my former colleague, we have to figure out how we get economic growth going, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
I know there was talk about, us town staff, we know we're going to be here till we all rot. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But, yes, our rec department truly needs more space. And so there was conversation when they move out of the fire station, possibly that would be a great area. Now, they don't have to completely fill the building, which might be an idea of community space, you know, because it kind of goes in with rec and
Yeah.
arts and, so, yeah, there are definitely ideas that we could.
Yeah, and I think to Steph's point, like, it doesn't close that door.
No,
It doesn't mean that it's definitely something in the future, right? Because everything's got to be considered when we cross that bridge.
right,
But especially after you guys take a look at 4 West Main on the inside, even just that first floor is going to take a lot to clean up and to have people safely in there. You know, I can't speak to it specifically. I mean, I went through a walkthrough probably almost a year ago now, and I'm sure it hasn't gotten better in a year. I think when we were there, not to belittle the building in public meeting, but there was like a water leak that we stumbled upon just because we happened to be there, you know, touring it, which was addressed by the facilities manager. But I like the idea of if we were able to just do something even temporarily in there, that would be great. But I'm even concerned about that, about like, how do you keep then people from, or kids wandering to other ends of the building or trying to use an elevator that doesn't pass code and stuff like that. So that's, I love the enthusiasm to have something like that, but the sort of realities of it kind of in the back of my mind.
again,
I'm
we
like,
need somebody with financial backing,
Right, exactly.
yeah.
And that building has, I mean, housed a couple of restaurants, so I think it has the ability to get there if someone has the vision and the commitment to it. And
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to have those conversations about like true partnering with the town. How do we do that as a win-win? Because that building is a strategic location, and I think there's a lot of demand for downtown and now, so I think it'll be interesting to see if we can start to talk about it, what comes our way a little bit.
So I think there's consensus that rather than form a committee, we would like to test the market, kind of.
Yep.
Is that, am I saying?
I'd say that's a fair statement.
Fair
Yeah.
statement. Yay. Okay, but would we be able to see the RFP before it goes out?
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Because I think that, you know, more
yeah.
public comments about it, that the better.
Yeah, absolutely. We could have a meeting about it. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Would everyone like to do that? Okay.
Love that idea.
So, I don't think, will we need a vote on this? No.
No, you could just task me with scheduling everything. So, let's see. So that's that. 4 West Main. So that is one meeting. And can we focus on 4 West Main and not yet focus on the new fire station?
Sure.
Just so there's
Yeah, I
not.
think that's
Okay,
appropriate.
yep.
Just because of the timing, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
You've been there for at least a while.
Okay, for RFP scope. So we'll start to plan that. Okay, that's good.
Okay. Are you all set?
All set, yep.
All right. Are we ready to move on? All right. Number 8, discussion regarding fall special town meeting.
Yes, so the only possibilities, White Cliffs, of course, and possibly rezoning. That's what I have so far for a special.
So, what, do we just want to keep this open on the calendar? Is that what you're
Yeah,
suggesting?
let's keep it open. I didn't know, you know, for instance, we could have possibly respondents from 4 West Main and then tackle that at the same time. So it's, I don't know also how quickly the respondents are going to want to move the White Cliffs.
Yeah.
So let's just see. It might have to get backed up a little bit to early fall or late summer, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we had our thoughts on a special town meeting.
Okay.
I just have one question. I know that in the past we had discussed moving the zoning articles to a fall meeting, so our town meeting warrant gets kind of long.
It does.
So
Yeah.
do we need to take any formal action for that to be an option or to look into?
So right now, I think they cleared, those went through so quick and easy. I think they cleared up all of the pending zoning changes that we had. But if there's anything else, if we hold a special town meeting, if there's anything that's worth conducting business for, then let's put it on, just so we're getting all that we can from holding another town meeting. But this, of course, just even if it was White Cliffs, that's so important.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And your suggestion is a good one, but I think that maybe we'll discuss it more in depth when we
Yeah.
do the after action
Oh, yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
meeting, which is coming up fairly soon, right?
Right. The only thing now I might possibly push that out, or if we get them in Nikki's Gardens and.
Oh, right.
Because I think that's like our priority right now.
Yes.
Is to get the ball moving and, yeah. So, but we could have that conversation as well. I have, where are we? Let's see, special town meeting. Yes, and then underneath, I have discussion regarding new voting location. That was already voted on at our April 7th meeting. None of the White Cliffs, nothing needs us to actually hold an election, so we're just having a special town meeting. But I just wanted to, reinforce the idea that I think it's December or January, our census goes out, so we're going to be, notifying people of the change of location and making sure that everybody is aware that, there's a change pending, and to highlight vote by mail.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
Because we are concerned about traffic and flow and everything, but, the more people that vote by mail, the better.
Exactly, or early,
Or early.
yeah.
Is this to move the voting from Elkin to the senior center?
Exactly. We voted to do it for I think we're going to start May
Next,
2026.
yeah, this upcoming May, so we have enough time.
Hopefully,
Yep.
we have more traffic than last election. I think 577 people voted.
Real,
So that would be welcome.
yes, right? I
Well,
know.
when we discuss the town meeting, I think we can also discuss how we advertise these things. Maybe we can do a better job of getting the word out about elections and meetings and things like that.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so is that okay if we move to number 10? Are you okay?
Yeah,
with-
absolutely.
All right, so number 10 is DPW update on schedule for yard waste drop-off, which would be brush, grass, leaves at the highway garage.
Yes, so this started, so in 2019, they would have 3 dates in the spring and 3 dates in the fall. And then they ended up opening it up to, the hours that they were there and present. So to make it more open than just 3 days in the spring, 3 days in the fall, they can accommodate 8 to 12, Monday through Friday, 8 to 2, and Saturdays, 8 to noon.
I'm confused by this one. I've lived in town since 2012, and I don't recall ever having or seeing any yard waste. Is this the DPW, we just drop your yard waste off?
Right.
I've never seen any restrictions or, it just, I mean, maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention.
That's the problem. So they didn't have a gate at that point.
Yeah, I trespassed many times.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there were rules.
Yeah, I think we all did. There's no
You're all
sign.
hooligans. Yes, so that's the problem. There's many people dropping off, and it costs us a lot of money to there is a plan in the future to have our compost, a separate compost site, so we won't have to pay people to take it away. So that's what the director is trying to deal with right now, to have official hours, to have a gate, not only for brush. They have their generators there, they have outside equipment, there's been, policing issues, incidents have been reported, but it's just, I mean, for them being there every single day and having a lot of expensive equipment and having a lot of expensive dumpings outside of the hours that they're there, it's definitely more of a protective measure that we're taking for our assets. And it is open, I mean, every single day except Sunday.
Sunday would probably be the busiest day, I think. I mean, just based on living next to it.
I don't
and
know
seeing
if
all the
it's-
cars.
So that would entail them hiring, well,
Well, I guess here's my point. Why are we doing this? Like, we've operated this town for so long, and I haven't seen in the police reports, in Northborough police reports, anything suggesting it. I was on the financial planning committee, I didn't see any stolen vehicles they need to be replaced. Like, why are we taking something away that the residents have enjoyed, and the flexibility in putting more bureaucratic measures on it? It just doesn't seem to make sense.
so I guess if people want to start to pay for it, then that we could definitely look into it.
What do you mean pay for it?
To take away all of the compost waste, we have to pay a contractor to come in and remove it all. So,
I'm,
because we don't have an actual compost area,
Right,
so we
right.
have to get rid of it. We have plans to, so then we can be more lenient on it, because we'll actually be generating compost. But right now, we have to get it trucked away, so it costs us money. So they open, I mean, they are open every day except Sunday. It's, some towns are just once a month, so I don't think it's unreasonable. I think some people got used to just going there whenever they wanted, and that is nice. I just had to deal with it this weekend. I was like, what the heck do I do with this? So I shoved it in the woods, and I'm like, well, in my woods, but I can only do that so much, so it's like, yep, I have to truck it somewhere.
so
It's,
are you saying that by having these more restrictive hours, we'll receive less?
yes,
yard
because there's
waste?
been landscaping trucks coming in from other towns. It's random people. It's a dump site. Word
We have
gets,
a comment from the audience,
You want me to hop up there for?
if you'd like? Because we have been hearing from many residents, so.
Susan Sartori, 465 Green Street. At one of our financial planning meetings, Scott actually told us that there's a great deal of abuse going on with commercial landscapers in the area, and there's no way to control it. So that's why there's the measures that are there now.
And was there a monetary number that he said it's costing us by?
He never discussed with us
Yeah.
about what it costs to take away all of it. But there's just no way to manage it any longer. They're coming at any time. That's why he's got the fence and everything else. Yes, I have neighbors and people that went at all times of the night and, maybe even in their pajamas to empty their stuff.
Yeah.
Times have changed.
Well, you're really tired after you break that whole
Yeah,
lawn.
I know Scott previously,
You might see
I think,
it.
came before us maybe a few months ago and discussed this and went over some of the details and kind of torn between maybe sort of the realities of it with the additional, I think the additional yard waste that's costing us money isn't coming from the residents, it's coming from contractors who are doing it when they're not supposed to. And DPW employees aren't going to, we're not tasking them to chase people off property, even if it's during hours. And he was even saying, I think people are coming like even during work hours. And so imagine off hours while it's open and dumping things at the dumpsters, mattresses and electronics and stuff like that. But to John's point, it is something that the people in town got used to.
I know, I get it.
Even myself, I've done some late night leaf dumping myself. Not knowing
That's
I
it,
wasn't supposed
I'm
to.
gonna find,
It's all-
he's at a damn meeting, he's not at a damn.
No, I'm sure he'd like.
how he really
He's
feels.
really like a physical structure, like
He's like, here's security footage.
and I'm
of
at
my-
a damn meeting too, no, just kidding.
To your point, though, I feel like we're taking, and I don't think people got used to it, I think it's the way it operated. I mean, it's 2012, and I've never heard of such a thing, so.
Right.
Well, so it's probably the cost, so he said it's 140,000 in fiscal year '26, he had to budget, he spent 150,000 in fiscal year '25. So there's a cost to it, and it's not just, like you were saying, it's not just Northborough people, it's people abusing it in high volume, like a landscaper. Think, if you do one person's yard, it's a
But
lot
couldn't you
of
put
waste.
no landscapers, please take notice, or Northborough residents only, please take notice, and have an enforcement
So-
where we can actually, so I've seen a landscaper there before. And I said, what are you doing? You can't do it, it's residents only. And what I got from the landscaper was, I was told by a Northborough resident that I'm doing their yard waste to put it here. And I'm picking my battles. But I mean, at some point, if we enable clear communication that Northborough residents only, please take notice, no contractors, no landscapers, as opposed to putting, I didn't see maybe the fence was under 25 grand, I didn't see it it never came before us in the.
I don't know
in
if
the
it's
financial planning
active
committee.
right now, is
But-
it?
It's
I don't
being
think so.
built, for sure.
But like, I don't know how it was budgeted or what the visibility was, but the idea that we're gonna have restricted access and not have access on Sunday is very insulting for a town that's taxes have gone up exponentially and getting less and less for our tax dollar. I am totally not comfortable with it.
Okay, so what if they could switch Saturday, and I don't know if they can, because this is all his staff.
And I don't think the answer is to have more, because we'll offset that with cost of employees to have to monitor this or do something with their maintenance of the fence. I'm not sure the math of the 150, what were the actuals of the past 5 years, so we looked at them. One of the things I personally struggle with, Scott, is when it comes to things before us is, there's no numbers. So I want numbers. I
Oh, he
want
has
to-
numbers, yeah, I can get you
Do
those.
we have the 5 years of what we've spent on the situation
Yeah,
we're
because
talking
it's a
about?
contractor.
Then
Yep.
let's look at that.
Yeah, I can get that. Yeah.
May I? I'm completely aloof of the problem because I just dump my own compost on my own property, and so I haven't been a hooligan like you all. I'm just kidding. But I do ask myself questions like, okay, so we're having a contractor take our leaves and mulch and other things the residents have been putting there. And I'm just thinking, I'm pretty sure we're buying dump trucks for DPW every year. Why do we have to use a contractor to haul our own stuff somewhere else? We have dump trucks who can do that. We have equipment that can put it in the dump trucks, and we have staff who can drive the dump trucks. So why are we paying a contractor? That's just, maybe there's an easy answer to that, but those are the
Yeah,
kinds of
it's
questions I ask.
regarded as, I think it's regarded as a hazardous waste. I wish he was here right now.
Maybe there's an easy answer, but
That, yeah, it has to be, like, they have to separate it in different ways. Yeah,
hire someone who's qualified to deal in hazardous waste and pay less than 150, I'm just saying, we have the equipment, why are we paying a contractor to use their equipment when we're buying brand-new equipment every year? Anyway,
Okay.
I understand the point about the bigger picture of maybe eventually we'll have another place within our properties to do this. I have some ideas, but that's not the topic for this conversation. And maybe that will moot the problem or lessen it, but that's obviously not before us right now. And to Mr. Ray's point, yeah, there's probably going to be, I won't be one of them, but there'll be definitely some upset residents when they come up to this gate and say, wait a second.
Laura?
Oh, sorry, you were saying the same thing?
Yes. An audience member has his hand raised.
oh,
Did you let them in?
No, do you want me to?
No, he lowered his hand.
Oh,
Oh,
I definitely, it's a tricky situation, because yard waste on the weekends, I wouldn't be able to go in the middle of the week to drop off yard waste because of work. but I think that there's a lot of confusion around what's going on for the residents that are trying to plan. And I don't know what the right solution is. I mean, I understand where the challenge that Scott's trying to solve it, and I appreciate his desire to save money, but at what expense? This is a tricky one, so.
He said it takes them a week with 3 or 4 trailer dumps to get rid of the brush.
The contractor or Scott?
Contractor.
And is that like an all-inclusive hauling?
He's going to
disposal?
zoom in.
Okay.
Does he have the Zoom info?
We can see once he gets in on the link for the meeting, we'll be able to see him jump on.
Okay. It's easier than me being messenger.
While he's getting in, if I may make a comment. I don't know that this is the right kind of solution, but in the absence of a better one, I'm just thinking, we all pay the town our excise taxes for our vehicle. I'm sure the town could compile a list of license plate numbers for all of the town excise taxed vehicles, and I'm sure we have the capability of putting a camera and seeing what license plate numbers go in there, and we could pass a bylaw that says it is a finable offense to go do this if you're not a resident, and all the people who go in there who aren't a resident get a nice fine in the mail. I mean, I don't want to create more things like that, but you know.
Well, yeah, a lot of towns do sell stickers, but then again, that's costing taxpayers too, so.
Yeah, well, anyway.
And you'd still have to enforce it.
Yeah, right.
That's where the issues come. And so is Scott proposing to bring down his 26 budget or next year's budget by 150 grand for this? I'd expect to see $150,000.
Oh, you're saying if he creates
If he were to
the
go-
compost area?
Let's say we were to do a version of what we're talking about today,
Yep,
then Scott would reduce his budget by $150,000 for next year. No additional cost, 150 net. Is that the proposal?
if we have an area that's, right, that we compost on our own. Is that what
Whatever
you're
this
talking about?
gate decision is.
Yes.
Well, the gate doesn't eliminate the contractor doing some of this work. It would just lower the cost,
Yeah,
what we're paying the
Yeah.
contractor.
let's just let him talk, because I'm just making up stories right now. I'm like, sure, that sounds super. Yeah, we can do that. And then I'll be like, what are you talking about?
How much I'd also like to know how much the gate cost and what the maintenance is and what any additional resources we need
The
from any
gate.
DPW.
The fence and.
Yeah, the
fence.
gate was, wasn't that on? Oh, God.
I thought I saw them ask for approval here previously with ARPA money, and it was
Yeah,
not approved for ARPA money anyway. 100,000 was the number I saw at that proposal.
Is it?
For the gate?
Okay, thanks.
I'm just saying what I saw as a proposal.
Yeah, no, that's
One of these
helpful. I
meetings.
didn't see that, it's helpful.
Remember, I know that he talked about the cost of it, I can't find it.
I thought it was, I thought the fence and the gate was 100 or 125.
Why wouldn't that come?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
Thank you, Sue.
Are you gonna put him in? Thank you.
Hi, Scott.
Hello.
So I don't know if you've been listening, but yard waste, people are very passionate about our ability to use the highway garage to bring our yard waste. So,
Madam Chair, I have not been listening. I just got back from a Conservation Commission hearing in Boylston, so I just got a text message indicating this was the topic, so I can answer any questions you'd like.
I think a couple questions maybe to lead off. How much was the gate? How much is that gate?
I'd have to look in the files. I want to say it's in the $70,000 range.
And I guess maybe a technical, why wasn't that brought before a financial planning committee if it's over $25,000 and has a useful life?
It's on the capital plan or was on the capital plan for next year for $150,000. We were able to utilize operating budget over a 2-year period to secure the electrician and gate contractor services.
But wouldn't that meet the requirement of 20, even if it's spread over 2 years, wouldn't it meet the requirement to come before the financial planning committee at that point?
We go to the Financial Planning Committee for capital improvement projects being funded through either free cash, borrowing, not out of our operating budget. That would be appropriations.
Okay, I was under the impression that if it's $25,000 or more and had a useful life, that it should make its way to the financial planning committee.
I'm not that integrally knowledgeable about our financial policies. I do know the capital plan is for items that are over $25,000 and are not funded through the operating budget.
And then I guess the other question is, what is the total cost to spend and needed to spend to complete, and the cost to operate it every year when it comes with personnel or any maintenance or any licenses or anything we need to do to manage an electronic gate or however the gate's structured?
I don't have the exact dollar figure for the installation. I just indicated I'm guessing it's about $70,000 between the electrical and the fencing contractor. The cost to operate it, I mean, it's a keypad. You plug in your code and the gate opens.
Okay.
There's really no cost associated with that outside of a small electrical service. And maintenance, we have our overhead garage doors maintained every year. They're evaluated and repaired as needed every year. Garage doors are pretty expensive. I don't have my operating budget with me. I think we carry $5,000 a year in the operating budget for door maintenance.
Scott, could you just give a brief overview of the operation for the brush and what happens and the process of hauling it, et cetera?
Certainly. So before COVID, when I came on board, the town had leaves and grass clippings available 24/7, 7 days a week, and brush was accepted 3 or 4 Saturday mornings in the spring and 3 or 4 Saturday mornings in the fall only. When 2019 was the last year we did that, as everybody knows, COVID hit in 2020. We eliminated the brush days because it resulted in a large group of people congregating in one area. So we allow the brush to be deposited adjacent to the leaves and grass clippings. That still continues today. One of the challenges we found when we were doing specific brush days is people would put brush in the leaf pile, thinking it doesn't matter, but that contaminates the leaf composting process. So we had to end up having manual labor removing the brush from the leaf pile. This is back in 16, 17, 18. So we clear out the leaf and brush piles twice a year. Once right around July and then again in December. The total cost annually has been increasing year over year. FY25, I believe we spent just about $150,000 on just removal of leaf and brush, and we've budgeted $140 this year. The process to remove it, it's exempt from procurement law as it's solid waste treatment, but we solicit quotes every year or every other year from a variety of vendors to remove the brush, leaves, as well as catch basin cleanings and street sweepings. The latter two are contaminated materials. The contract gets awarded, the contractor comes out, the brush and leaves take maybe a week, maybe 6 days. They'll have a platoon of 3 or 4 trailer dumps and a very large excavator sitting at the yard 8 hours a day to remove it and dispose of it. I'm trying to find what we did, what our costs were right now.
And then the plans in the future is to create our own compost area?
I don't know. I'd like to. I have that in the capital plan. The town does own a large tract of land on Boundary Street behind the dog park. The property users around it, and there's a sewer treatment plant, There's the Assabet River, there's a few residential properties, but they're kind of over a crest. I don't know if it's a viable location or not, but the cost is growing every year. So here we are, FY '25, solid waste, leaves and brush. Again, this comes out of the solid waste enterprise fund, is $159,000 actual spent. FY '24 was 150. FY '23 was 112. 22 was 102. It just keeps growing. And that comes out of the solid waste budget.
Is the cost growing because they're charging more, or because we have more compost, or both?
Yes, both.
Okay.
Yes. And I mean, the idea of the gates is, it's not solely the solid waste. There's a lot of illegal dumping. Monday morning, last Monday morning, we came to work and first thing, and there was a mattress and a box spring in the metal dumpster. That contaminates the load. If we didn't see it, that load would have been contaminated, and we'd have to pay for its removal as opposed to getting it removed for free, which our solid waste vendor provides in exchange for this scrap metal. I provided a photograph a week and a half ago, showed the roll-off dumpster with a pool sand filter in it, some broken furniture. A couple days ago, there was a propane tank left back there. There was an old metal diamond plate toolbox from a pickup truck that was left back there. In addition, we have about $800,000 worth of equipment stored outdoors with no security. So the gates are needed for a variety of reasons.
So if we were to create our own compost area somewhere, I'm sure there would still be costs, but how much do you think, we would be able to decrease what we're paying now?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the operating cost is. The money in the capital plan is just to do a feasibility, to determine, one, is the site viable? Two, does it make financial sense? And three, what is the process to go through when it comes to permitting and land clearing to create a compost yard?
Would having this gate and having it closed at off hours help us with any type of insurance costs on any of our equipment that's stored there, or anything revolving around the DPW yard?
That's a good question.
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
Okay, I didn't know if that was somewhere considered or in a line item somewhere.
Now it is.
It's pretty unique to have a DPW yard wide open all day and all night. That's somewhat of a unique.
Yeah, that was going to be my other question. Are there other towns that have followed suit to seal and secure their yards because of illegal dumping and equipment?
Holden is locked.
I don't know of any that are not locked. I live in Grafton. Grafton is locked. The old Grafton garage was locked. Our water garage is locked. All of our drinking water, our Brigham Street drinking water location is locked. Shrewsbury's locked. I'm trying to think of the other. Westboro's locked. I can't think of one that is not locked, not secured.
But some of the towns do have curbside pickup. They offer that service. So the the goal is to have this dumping of yard waste be as safe as possible to prevent any illegal dumping. But I think what I'm hearing also is that this is a service that a lot of people in town have really appreciated. And, we are facing a high, a considerable increase in taxes, and it's, to take away a service like this is, is troubling to people. Not only that, but the hours are, they don't really work for when people are doing their yard work. They come home from work, they do the yard work, and then maybe they go at 7 o'clock at night to bring their bags, or they work all Saturday and want to bring the bags on Saturday evening. So I think, am I correct in saying that it's, the hours that are recommended right now are maybe surprisingly restrictive?
That makes right.
Okay. And can I just bring up another point? So there is a group of people in town who are doing amazing work at the trails, removing invasives, removing stuff that people have brought, where they have brought their yard waste. And I think if we're going to restrict these hours, people just want to get rid of their yard waste, and I don't want to see those trails get any more, any more yard waste and invasive plants than, and defeat the purpose of what that group is trying really hard to do. I mean, they go out on weekends and pull English ivy and get trees out of the trailheads. So,
Yeah, we collect that material for them.
yeah. But
material we
yeah,
pick up
they
for.
do, yes, and thank you very much. But I've seen that group work, and it's hard work. So, any other comments? Yes,
Well, I did have one question. Thanks, Mr. Charpentier. I did have one question, rewinding back a little bit. You mentioned the difference between the leaves and the brush that folks bring. And then you also had mentioned something about the street sweepings that, of course, our street sweeper picks up. And then I thought you said, but I might have misheard you, that the street sweepings are what makes it contaminated. That makes total sense to me, because who knows what's on the street, gasoline, oil, whatever you're picking up from the street sweepings, probably, I would agree, is going to possibly have contamination. But is there a way to keep that separate from the leaves and brush and not have the leaves and brush that are brought there be contaminated so that they can be disposed of easily and more easily and cheaply? Is that a possibility, or did I miss something?
Yeah, I may have miscommunicated that. They are kept separate. Catch basin cleanings are kept separate from street sweepings. Both of those are kept separate from leaves and brush. Leaves and brush are separated. We do as much as we can to keep the cost down. Brush being put incorrectly into a leaf pile is problematic, because we need to have staff remove those branches so that the leaves and grass clippings can be compostable. But yeah, the catch basin cleanings and street sweepings are kept separate. They have to be characterized environmentally, so they don't commingle. We don't commingle anything.
Okay.
So back to a couple comments the chair made. So there's obviously concern with taxes and operating budget costs. What we're proposing is what any DPW yard that I can think of does. And in order to increase the operating hours beyond what was recommended, would require additional overtime. Our crews already work Saturday mornings in the spring and the fall to maintain the level of service currently provided. If the hours were to be extended or expanded, it would require more overtime pay. And if it was expanded to all weekend, these are parents, these are fathers and brothers, and they have children that play sports, and to force people in on a Sunday to open the gates and monitor the grounds just seems a bit excessive, considering what practices are elsewhere. Grafton's leaf dump is only open on Saturday mornings, and you need a dump sticker to go there. And they have they accept leaves and brush, and that's it.
so there was a suggestion of having a camera to deter people from illegal dumping. Would you consider that?
Put anything in that the board chooses, but who's going to watch that? We show up Monday morning, there's a mattress in the metal dumpster, there's lawn furniture in the conventional dumpster, there's big pieces of iron hidden between the dumpsters, and 2 landscape companies came by in the afternoon and dumped off their stuff. I don't know how I don't know how you do that. Who's going to sit there and watch that video to determine who it is and hope that we captured a license plate and then the police department's gonna have to track them down for illegal dumping, which they've done before. They've gone to Marlboro engaged with, landscape companies there who are doing it when we happen to catch them. It seems like a lot of cost when, just locking a gate to secure your facility is all that's really needed.
I just wonder how much is actual cost versus how much is physical deterrent. If you say, like, you're on camera, you show a camera, and how many people are gonna take the risk of that. The monitoring piece, you'd have the evidence if you needed to. I'm not suggesting be actively monitored versus, I think taking away the flexibility to residents have enjoyed. I mean, Scott, I was conversation earlier, I'm here 2012, and it's always been at your convenience, and generally that a lot of days of Sunday. And I think residents are used to just having that as a way that they kind of live in town. So where we keep on like increasing taxes and we start taking things away, I totally respect what you're saying and I understand it. But like, and what's not as clear to me is like, you spend $159,000 by implementing this, what is that cost going to be? What are the true savings? Is it 159? We can just reduce the budget next year by 159 and it's easily done? Or is it a number between, that's closer to somewhere between 0 and 159? So like even the true cost of what this can save the town is not really clear to me.
So just to clarify, previously in the 20 teens, 2019, 2015, 16, it was still 8 to 2 during the work days and designated weekends for brush. Leaves were available on the weekend, but it wasn't advertised. The flyer that went out was always the same, 8 to 2, Monday through Friday, these specific Saturdays for brush. So that the after-hour use, while it has always occurred, wasn't encouraged or wasn't part of the operating procedures. The amount of money saved by securing the facility, I don't know what that difference is going to be. The goal is to not have contractors coming there and dumping. And obviously illegal dumping in the back is problematic. I don't know what's being put into the roll-off dumpster. We don't know. We've been lucky so far. Nothing has been tossed in there that was explosive. We didn't have the propane tank. People were nice enough to illegally dump them outside of the dumpster, not throw them in. So I'm willing to do what the board chooses. I just, not many DPW yards are completely open to the public 24/7, especially with the amount of equipment we have outdoors.
Or,
Would it be a possibility, because it sounds like just having some additional hours would really offset some of the stress that is affecting the residents, but still provide the security for the town? Would this qualify as senior work-off program hours, where people that are taking advantage of those programs would be able to spend time managing the gate and who's accessing it?
it's an idea. Is that something we'd have to discuss?
Can you hear us? Scott?
I haven't utilized the senior workout program, so I'm familiar with it, but I don't know anything about how it operates or works.
I'm not sure how many would be comfortable.
Okay.
Right, I mean, it's something that could be confrontational. I mean, I guess the police are right across the street almost, but they're mostly out driving around,
Well, I
right?
guess from a deterrent perspective, though, if they see something that looks questionable, they call the police, and
Or we give them a taser.
there's always that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Do have signs out indicating that they're, the facility's under surveillance, and you can see from the cameras across the street at the police station on the cell tower, they're not having a sign up that says there's a camera here isn't a deterrent and hasn't been yet.
I mean, somebody went and threw a brick through the window of the police department. I mean, if people do a lot of dumb stuff on camera, smash and grabs and commit other crimes, like, the camera only goes so far. And I think, to Scott's point, who then monitors that, who follows up on it, and then is that just more cost that you never actually saved anything, you just spent the money in another area?
I always thought the goal was prevention and not enforcement. We want to slow down drivers and not just pass out tickets. We want to stop illegal dumping. and not just catch them and punish them.
Scott,
Hate 'em.
when you were going over the numbers, there was a dramatic jump, I think, from like 20 to 21, where it went from like 104 or 112, shot up.
112, 150.
Yeah, so is in your opinion, from what you've seen, is that from the increase in the illegal dumping, or was that cost increase, or, I know you said it was both, but that's a fairly dramatic shift. Was that kind of cost increase, or was that you seeing this more and more often, which was the impetus for going the gate route, right?
It happens to coincide directly with COVID and us going from specific days to sort of
That makes
I don't want
sense.
to say a free-for-all, but
So with the gate going back to specific days, it's the only numbers we can kind of look at, it's possible to go back from, instead of almost cresting up to 160 a year, maybe going back to 120 or 110, or whatever those other numbers were, if that's where the increases are coming.
I'll give you an example. I just pulled out a couple of the agreements. So the FY 20, 2019, the year before COVID, the 2019 contract, lawn and leaf waste was $16.95 to get rid of a cubic yard, so call it $17. And in 23, it was $15.35. So the price per yard has actually gone down, and it varies depending on what facility is accepting and what facility is not accepting and the like. But that's so, the price for leaves and yard waste went up from 100 to 150. But the cost per cubic yard to dispose of it went down a little bit.
Right, so I know that kind of is a fairly strong selling point for securing the yard on top of the other illegal dumping, on top of all the expensive equipment there that's sitting out in the open. I don't like telling residents we're going to maybe take away something that has always been. But to that point, we are going to have to tighten budgets. We are going to have to maybe, the most preferred thing, if we could afford it, would be to have leaf pickup, to send those trucks with the, giant leaf suckers around and suck them up and get rid of them, but that would be cost prohibitive. We can't we can't bring that to town meeting, and increase those costs. It's again, a tough call. That's why we're sitting here. So I would lean towards implementing what the department head thinks is the best course of action to go forward. And I think he's laid out a fairly convincing case, and from looking at the information of why we want to implement that and why we would want to go forward with limited hours and the gate. It looks like it would cut down on costs because it's going to cut down on the illegal dumping and the contractors coming in dumping yard waste, with just a closed gate. And there's no other way to keep them out other than physically keeping them out. Right? It does take away something people got used to, but this may not be the only thing we may have to pull back on that people have been used to if we want to be realistic with our budgets, and avoid an override and try not to increase taxes another 10%. So I don't know how much of a there was no motion written for this, and it was DPW update on it, so I don't know if the plan was to implement this when the gate is fully up and operational, but we can take a vote to not do that, or what we were looking for from the board tonight.
I think it was just the discussion of hours, with the knowledge that, the gate would be active soon. Scott, has there been any desire from other towns to regionalize a compost area? For instance, Wachusett region does that. And I
haven't reached out to any of our peer communities. I know it is a problem with many of them. Grafton excluded, they have a waste disposal site. I did look at the Wachusett one. We're not eligible to participate in that one. If the funds are approved for an evaluation of the Boundary Street property, and it's deemed to be viable, at that point, we could engage some of our peers and see if there's interest. I mean, everybody sees the Auburn yard when you're driving down the pike. The amount of leaves and brush they have there is obnoxious. It takes up their entire yard, and their yard is gated. So I mean, there's a lot of other communities that are struggling with this.
Jacob.
Sorry to
The
believe.
schedule going forward, though, so the contractor, the work is not complete. There's at least 2 more weeks of electrical work to make the connections and cut in the loops. There's some paving work to be done once they're all done, and then some bollards to install. So the gates are a solid month plus out from being operational, and before they would go operational, it would come before the board to discuss it, determine what the board's desires are, put the message boards out, put some, a town news out, and certainly publicize the fact that we're going to be locking the facility, which I'm guessing is going to result in our dumpster being filled.
Get there while you can.
I don't mean to
Right.
belabor the point. This is actually just a question because I'm trying to see how this works out. I can see, as it's been expressed, some frustration from a lot of folks who weren't illegal, didn't consider themselves to be illegal dumping, who just said, look, because of my work schedule or kid's schedule, I can't do it during these hours, so I was doing it on Sundays, and now I can't do it on Sundays, so now what do I do? Let's say hypothetically, and I bet that's a lot of people, and they're probably going to be pretty unhappy, and so what we're saying is we're saving some money, maybe, but for the trade-off being all these people now have to individually figure out what to do with their yard waste. So let's say hypothetically a solution pops up where a friend of the neighborhood says, hey, all you friends of my neighborhood who can't take it at the time that you can take it, I have a big truck or a trailer or something, and I can pick up all your yard waste and take it to the approved time period. And so then you've got this neighbor who's being a friendly neighbor to all their neighbors and comes to the yard, and maybe it looks like a commercial vehicle, maybe it is a commercial vehicle, maybe it's a commercial trailer that he's using to offer to all of his friends, and he shows up to help all of his neighbors, because they can't do it anymore, and he brings all the stuff during the hours, looking like a commercial vehicle, and he comes to offer it to dump. Is that load going to be rejected?
No, I've been in that circumstance several times.
Okay.
I'll be driving through the yard, I'll see a large truck pull up with a trailer full of stuff, far more than what I would expect from a single yard. I asked the gentleman, where are you coming from? You a contractor? No, I'm working at my mother's house. What's your mother's address? And her name? Okay, yep, she's a resident, that's fine. You live in town? Yes, I do. Okay, so your license, you're good. Dump. One of the bigger problems are contractors who come in Northborough to do cleanups, and then they see the yard and say, well, this is where I can dump. And that's happened several times. Far more often do I encounter a contractor who is dumping there thinking they're allowed to because the debris came from Northborough. Oh, my customer's in Northborough. I can dump it here. Well, no, you can't. This is for the residents, not for businesses driving around cleaning yards. So I talk to people when I see them, and they appear like they're doing more than what a general yard cleanup would be. And often it's what you described. It's a nice guy in the neighborhood cleaning some stuff up for family and friends, and they live in town, so you can use it.
Scott, what were the proposed hours again? 8 to 2, Monday to Friday, and then what was Saturday?
Saturday was 8 to noon.
And then you had mentioned that Saturday staffed spring and fall. What about, so in the summer, is that incremental cost to do 8 to noon in the summer, or is there already people working on Saturdays?
So the staff doesn't work on Saturdays in the summer. We give them all Saturday overtimes are optional. They're not required. The vast majority of them come in to do the work, get some overtime, keep up with the level of service in town, and so Sundays I really don't want to force guys in on Sundays, and I like to have them have at least a couple months.
No,
of
I guess
summer.
my question's more specific than that. It's, in the summer, it's not staffed. 8 to 12, we're now going to staff this in the summer because those are the hours in which the DPW will be open?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. 8 to 2 every workday, but in the summertime, middle June until right after Labor Day, we don't operate overtime on Saturdays. We have one gentleman who comes in, one employee who comes in and empties the trash at the parks on Saturdays. That's it. So we could have him open it. But again, the trash duties is 2 hours, not 4 hours. And often they'll come in Saturday night or late evening, late afternoon to pick up the trash. So it's emptied after this, the youth sports events on Saturdays, and it's empty and available for Sunday. That's generally when trash is done.
So you do anticipate incremental overtime in order to have Saturday hours in the summer?
Yes.
Mike, I'm just not as compelled as you are on this, like the data is not there to tell me 159 goes to what. Now, your other comments I do appreciate, which is, we haven't had any of these vehicles stolen yet, to my knowledge, and I share all the concerns that were discussed, but it seems like we're using kind of a hard instrument here to for something that isn't clear on the cost side.
Well, I mean, I guess you kind of don't know until you implement it, right? I mean, all we can kind of see is the progression of the costs and a huge jump in the costs, even though the cost per yard went down. So, and since COVID, the Scott has seen an increase in contractor vehicles, an increase in illegal use of the illegal dumping in the dumpsters, which we're not even. Scott, is additional cost for the dumpsters, is that included in those 100,000 plus amounts that you had listed out, or that was just yard waste?
That's just yard waste. No, the dumpsters, they fill up fast, and it's clearly people throwing away bulk items they don't want. Pillows, mattresses. Mattresses are the worst because they're very expensive to get rid of. One of my concerns is that the more controls we have on materials, for example, fluorescent light bulbs, they're harder and harder to get rid of. Last thing I want to do is have somebody dumping, hazardous material in that roll-off dumpster. We don't know about it, and we get fined or charged with an illegal load. Regarding the equipment, no, we haven't had any large pieces of rolling stock stolen or vandalized. Whether we get cones taken and barrels taken, I don't know. And we have so many of them there. I'm guessing a few of those disappear so people can, put them at the end of their driveways when their kids are playing. But we don't keep a direct count of every cone and barrel we have.
Okay, so what you're saying is that there's a lot of dumping of things that are difficult to get rid of. And I can understand that. You have to, mattresses have to go to a special place, the light bulbs have to go to a special place. Whatever happens with this whole thing, it would be nice, I think, in town to have more recycling events so that people, the mattresses, I think, are separate, but more events where people can bring their, like the hazardous waste that we do every year. We do it once a year, right?
That's correct.
Right.
There's
if we opened it up
currently
to.
a recliner between the dumpsters at the highway garage today. There was this afternoon when I drove by. That does two things. One, we have to pay to get it disposed of. And two, it takes revenue away from the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund by that resident not purchasing a bulk sticker. It's not a lot of revenue, but it's revenue, and it increases the expense side and decreases the revenue side. It's small things like that end up adding up.
The recliner's not in good enough shape that you could use it as a chair, save some money, save on a chair, right? No, but.
So this gate is electronic, you said, right? Is there any way that it can be closed remotely?
No. Well, I mean, I'm sure the technology exists, but that's not with the gate system that we're implementing.
Oh, and when I bring stuff on Saturday morning, am I to assume that there's someone in the garage watching people bring their stuff? Or is that person out working?
No, there's always a body at the garage. They're not sitting in that recliner watching everybody dump stuff, but they're running around doing their thing, and anytime you see somebody out there, you take a quick look. The garage being open and operational is quite a bit of a deterrent from illegal dumping. Generally, the contractors that I've caught there are smaller, maybe I caught a couple of them from Marlborough last year. Just pickup truck, a couple guys with matching T-shirts and their landscaping equipment. And one of them actually last year was had illegal plates on his truck. It was unregistered. He was uninsured. He was just kind of a gypsy landscaper.
So, I guess we have to determine what our role is here. This was supposed to be an update on the hours. We've heard a lot of questions and some real concerns about limiting this service to the residents. I would like to get more information about what you said. Can it be something that would qualify for senior work-off? It's if somebody, if they had, some kind of quick communication to the police department or something if they felt uneasy. But I think, someone sitting there it could be a possible solution. I'm not sure. But I think is it reasonable to find out that information? And is it reasonable to ask you to think about extending hours at all? Because even the 8 to 2 during the week, I come home from work, 5 o'clock, I do a little work, I want to bring my stuff at 6 o'clock. Could you go back and maybe also get some, look at the numbers a little bit? Is the cost primarily the contractors that are charging us more? Is it more quantity? Would we all like more information, or are we?
So if we were to open up the operations so the 8 to 2 is for a reason. We operate 7 to 3:30. Between 7 and 7:30, there's a lot of equipment running around. That's not an appropriate time for residents to be. Often they'll park in a paved area because it's a bit muddy back in the leaf deposit area. We're pushing the leaf pile up with our loader and our brush pile up almost every day. We need to have an opportunity to do that. Same thing at the end of the day. Our day ends at 3:30. Generally by 3 o'clock, the equipment's starting to come back and getting cleaned and put away. That's where those hours came. If you wanted to have extended hours beyond that to, I don't know, whatever, 7 p.m., 8 p.m., you have to have somebody there. The idea of it being unsecured and open without someone there keeping an eye on things is where we've been for the past 10 years and how we got to where we are today.
And do you find that the illegal dumping is happening even during the day, or is it mostly at night?
I found people there in the afternoon. Town hall, we work till 4 and then 7 on Tuesdays. I've been there at the highway garage between 4 and 7 on a Tuesday, and I saw a couple times residents throwing trash in the dumpster, like their kitchen bag. And I asked the gentleman in one instance, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I'm just throwing my trash away." Well, you can't do that. This isn't for the residents? Mm-hmm. No. 15,000 people don't dispose of all their household waste in a 15-yard dumpster. No, that's not what this is for.
Well, that's, so that's a little bit of a communication thing, but can we find out about the senior work-off? And Scott, would you get a few, more, as much as you can, figure out the cost and maybe talk to staff and see if somehow we can extend the hours, especially on weekends, I would say.
I just think that once we start adding cost, we're putting ourselves in this silly position where we're trying to save money to spend money. And that's where I get anxious about it. And it's like, so we're taking away what residents have been able to enjoy and kind of their life and not have to think about it. Now you're thinking about it. And so to me, that's the internal debate I'm having. And that's with not knowing what that 159 goes to. I would have loved to seen a simpler approach that, and granted, it wouldn't solve all the problems, that either putting a camera on there, and a notice that you are on camera, because there's a lot of studies that do suggest that if you're being watched, you act differently than if you're not. So like some little things you do to bring the 159 down versus creating the situation right now, we're spending how long talking about the fact we're going to surprise residents with this. So that's the internal debate I'm having, is like we're talking about it.
I think
The
many.
dumpster, the dumpster that the resident was disposing of his household waste in has a sticker right on it that says, you're on camera. And doesn't bother them. There's a giant sign that says resident use only, no contractors where the brush disposal area is and leaves. It doesn't deter.
And what would
I'm
it
happy to
take?
do what the board wants. If extended hours beyond what was emailed out is what you want, then that's going to require additional overtime funding. And we have the resources, we have the funds in the operating budget. It just means we won't replace guardrail, or we'll do less paving. There are other, we already bought all our flowers, but there are other soft costs that the services that we can cut in order to provide that service.
Well, I don't think that that's the solution we're going for here. Let's find out about the senior work-off, and everybody think about how we can get to some situation where the residents are not quite as restricted. It's a big change. You have to admit, it's a big change. So.
I don't disagree. It is a big change.
And
It's a
I
change
agree with John, but I also very worry about stuff people are bringing in that could be potentially dangerous. So.
We've had fires there in the past, on 2 instances since I've been here, in the leaf pile. Actually, one of them was noticed by one of the employees who lives in town, was driving by and saw it smoldering. It was, what do you call it, charcoals. Somebody dumped their charcoals there.
I was just gonna ask, was it a spontaneous combustion situation, or was it a charcoal situation? Because
It was charcoals. We weren't turning it over.
Spontaneously combust, but.
Someone threw a laptop battery in the pile.
Anyway, no more
Or
ideas.
vape in the pile.
Life is difficult. It's difficult to get rid of things.
It is.
We're essentially proposing to implement something very similar to what a lot of other communities do. And Julianne, your idea about the senior work-off, that's what Grafton does on Saturday mornings. You buy a dump sticker, you can go there. There is usually a senior work-off resident there. You show your sticker, you go in, you dump. Sometimes they'll get out of their vehicle and look in if you have a tarp, just to see what you got in there, so you're not dumping concrete.
It was actually Laura's good idea.
No. I like the sticker idea.
And
That'll make managing it easier.
Yeah, if you could get more information about this sticker, I think people would, even if we had to pay for it,
Yep.
right? If we,
The way we did burning permits.
right, exactly.
Yeah, if it was, I'm making things up right now, $3 to legally and whatever, do it here versus $10 of gasoline I'm gonna have to burn to go somewhere else, that's a no-brainer, but.
And that
I'm
would
not
give you more
saying
money.
That's a solution, but.
Okay. I think that's good to keep looking at.
Okay, are we ready to move on?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thanks.
Yep,
Thanks, Scott.
thank you. Happy to help.
definitely. Okay. All right, so now we are vote to appoint a select board member to serve on the fire station building committee. So with Mitch gone, he was our representative there. First, I should ask if anyone would like to.
I would like, Madam Chair, to take Mitch's place, or to be the select board member on however that works out, to the fire station building committee.
And you're on the school committee too, that's a lot?
Yeah, right, I'm also on the Peasley committee. you know, the Peasley Committee would be probably more time commitments, especially right now. With my understanding with the Fire Station Building Committee, right, they continue to meet and continue to make sure the process moves along and the project gets done. You know, I'm okay taking on both of those responsibilities as, you know, trying to manage that with my clerking responsibilities now, but.
You'd be surprised. Okay, any other offers?
I moved the board to appoint Jacob Jones to serve as the board's liaison to the Fire Station Building Committee.
I'll second that. And I know he's participated in a lot of those meetings over the course of the last couple of years.
So, I think we should talk about your personal goals for being on, for wanting to be on or being nominated for the committee. Do you want to go first, Mike, and talk about?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I have been, you know, intimately involved in the fire station process, you know, since deciding to, you know, before running for select board and then running for the select board. I've sat here for a year getting updates and figuring out what was going on and watching meetings. You know, I want to see that project, you know, completed on time, completed as best within budget as possible. You know, I would like to be involved in the building committee as, you know, kind of seeing it now, obviously coming in at a different point than, say, Peasley. Peasley is still kind of ramping up where the fire station committee, a lot of the heavy lift necessarily has kind of been completed. You know, I would like to get that experience on that end of the fire station committee, which I think would be helpful for me to also be on Peasley, apply what I'm learning in that part of the process and applying that to Peasley. You know, as a member who's been here for a year on the board, I think I have some level of seniority to make that ask to be appointed to it. And I think, you know, it's not a matter of, you know, I think also know that the people who are on that committee now, you know, and everyone involved with it, that I would be able to I think, hit the ground fairly quickly and be a productive member of that board or committee.
Thank you. Jacob?
I appreciate the nomination, just so it's clear I wasn't jumping up and down for that. I've been watching their meetings, attending some of them, commenting at some of them. I do have a lot of concerns. There's a lot to do left, whether it's Mr. Tejan or me. Ultimately, I maybe care less about than I care about what I'm about to say, as far as which of us hopefully can see to this. Is there isn't a lot of pushback from anyone on the committee, and I will give actually former Chair Cohen some credit for this most recent meeting that I was watching, that he did push back with the OPM with respect to some changes in fees to the OPM that, from my reading of what was being said in the meeting, the OPM knew was going to be needed, and it wasn't necessarily made open to the town meeting that the OPM knew that their charges were going to be higher than they stated. And kudos to Mr. Cohen, he called them out on that and said, as a matter of principle, and I'm not quoting him, but generally said as a matter of principle, that's not okay. And I 100% am on that boat. That's not okay. That said, it was sort of a comment, and then, but we all are fine with you doing it anyway. The sentiment that I got watching the meetings since the special town meeting, well, actually, even more recent, the one since the bid's been issued, is, well, the difference between the amount of the general contractor bid and everything baked in and the amount that was approved at ATM, special ATM, I guess special TM, special town meeting, the amount we approved, there's like a $7 million gap there. And it seems to me that everyone involved in that project architecture OPM-wise, and I'm sure everyone else downstream, my view of it is some people say that, I don't know what's in their minds, but it's going to be treated as a slush fund of $7 million that the town has already said we're okay spending, but that the actual bid that came out for the project that we approved was 7 million less. But now they know they're not gonna have to come back to town to spend that extra 7 million, so everyone there is gonna be trying to figure out justifications for spending another 7 million. Another problem that I have with the current direction of that committee, and of course, maybe one member, whether you or me, maybe can't change the battleship's course here with only one vote, but I'm a little bit troubled that the committee appears to have just given change order approval to our fire chief up to $10,000 per item. I'm just gonna say it how I see it. It's a little bit of fox watching over the hen house. To have the chief of the department whose building it is approving all this expenditures, and now that we have a $7 million slush fund for that. Now, I'm sure he will act ethically, and I'm sure he will do what he believes is best, but I don't know that what he believes is best is the same thing that I believe is best, or that the town would believe is best if they were given the opportunity to weigh in. The fact of that board being so willing up until now to give as much deference as they have is troubling. The fact that we have two very good and respectable, and I'm not personally criticizing them in any way, but two members of our fire department on that committee. I mean, they should have been advisors to the committee from day one. So the committee's troubled. If we want to appoint Mr. Tejan, I'm kind of like, but I will be critical of that committee. And I think whether it's from me or from you, they need to hear it and not just run along the let's spend up to the $42 million boat.
Right, I mean,
So, anyway.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if the idea is, oh, goody, now we have $7 million to play with. And some of the criticisms that you lay out, you could say the same thing about the Peasley Building Committee with members of the school committee on that. You know, is that a conflict of interest? You could say the same thing. Not to, you know, I don't have to defend Chief Parenti. He does a good job of doing that himself. But a fire chief or a firefighter probably has a good idea of what they need in a firehouse. So I think some deference to the department head of a building that's getting built is appropriate. Rubber stamp, no, but I think that would be appropriate. I would also be sort of worried about the optics of, frankly, Jacob, somebody who's been openly critical of the fire station, being appointed by this board to that committee. If Laura or someone else wants to be on the fire station committee, and Jacob and I can stand down, I could certainly support that if you were interested in doing it. But I think that could be a concern as well, about how it looks like as if the appointed member is now kind of, as you said, coming for the fire station project, where it's now in its process. Being discerning and being critical, absolutely, I think we can both do that. Just for what it's worth, I think, but obviously I think between the two of us, I would rather be on the committee. I would ask for someone to make a motion to nominate me, and at least if you're going to vote Jacob in, I would at least like an up or down vote on myself, just so that it's on the record. But, you know, I don't like being in a position to have us both arguing sort of against each other. I'm not trying to cause friction or division on the board on our first meeting. So
For the record, I don't think you are. I mean, I don't view this as anything but a good discussion. Like, I value the constructive tension that Jacob could bring. I value you in other ways. So, like, for me to feel that Jacob is the person that can make the most impact is based on that view, but I think you're totally capable of it. But I think we should have these conversations.
Yeah, it's not creating tension. You both have slightly different approaches, and it's for the rest of us to consider.
Excuse me, Chair, there's a public comment.
Oh, good,
You want to take it?
sure, yes, please. Good evening, Mitch.
Hi there. Mitch Cohen, longtime listener, first-time caller.
Could you state your name and address,
The Fire
please?
Station Building Committee. I'm not going to try to, make a suggestion as to who should represent the board. I appreciate that the board has interest in the project. This is really a construction maintenance phase. There's not a lot of big decisions left to be made, but it's certainly helpful to have a board member involved. From a technical point of view, Steph makes the appointments to building committees by town charter, or the town administrator makes those appointments to the, by town charter, and then the select board then endorses that. So procedurally, I don't think the board should really entertain votes as to who to appoint. Steph makes that decision, and then you can decide whether or not to endorse that. Just a couple of things on general comments that were made. The Fire Station Building Committee put the $6.5 million bid savings not into contingency, which would then be available to the project, but into a bid savings line item. It has to be somewhere within the budget. That's what was appropriated by town meeting. That's how we accounted for it. I would be truly shocked if we ever dipped into that. My expectation, and I think that of the entire committee, is that we will end the project with a significant amount of money in our contingency line items, and certainly not touch that bid savings line items. If the board is concerned about that, Steph, as sort of manager of the project, has the ability to direct us to not touch that without her approval, for example. So that's, that's an avenue you could take if you wanted to, or Steph could take if she wants to. Also, on the question of staff being appointed to the committee, this was something that the select board did discuss after these appointments. This was, by our accounting of the members who were on the committee at that time, the last time that we would appoint staff members as voting members on a building committee. We did that because that's who the former town administrator appointed. We had to get it going, and that's sort of the position that we were in. But you will notice that for the Peaslee Building Committee, we actually had a discussion about that, and there were no staff members appointed as voting members to the Peaslee Building Committee. So I think that's, I would recommend that be a process that would be continued for future building committees. This is who we've got on the building committee now, and that's not to disparage, any of the members. I just think it is a good practice to have them be separate. But as the main reason that I wanted to make mention is technically processes. Steph has to do the appointment, and then the board can weigh in afterwards. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we had valid conversation. It might be best if neither Mike or Jacob, are there any other members that would like to put their hat in the ring for this?
I think you both bring a lot to that committee, and I don't feel like I don't think I could do that. I don't have the same background that you have to bring to it.
Could I ask a question? Two areas kind of concern that I have for what still remains to be done in the project, which is a substantial amount, but I'm even careful to bring it up here. I've mentioned what I now deem the C word because I've been silenced on it a few times, but contamination several times, and every time I feel like 1,000% guarantee that there was none anywhere on the site. Great, I hope so. I'd want to be sure that those loads And I think that's in the original estimate. The original 50% design phase estimate had actually assumed $750,000 would be to dispose of contaminated soil. At what degree of contamination, who knows? It could be super, super safe, relatively speaking, but technically contaminated, and it costs more to dispose of technically contaminated soil. I'm not trying to raise alarms here of like hidden mysteries, but the reality is it was a gas station. Whatever level, and I understand it passed the thresholds to purchase the property, 100%, and I'm not trying to, again, suggest anyone's trying to hide anything, but I'm just legitimately concerned that for a block of earth, that we're going to dig 75 holes to our water table through. If someone's not keeping a little eye on making sure tests are done appropriately, which I think are within the scope of contracts, I'd be concerned. But the fact that every time I say the C word, I get like, shut up, Jacob. No, like, I'm not okay with that. I'm okay. I should be able to ask those questions without someone thinking that I'm, an alarm raiser. I hope that there's no issues. I 100% hope
I got
an
an email this morning
Yeah.
about that from the chief. He said, just a quick update, our OPM put out an RFP for materials testing for the project, and based on the results, we awarded the proposal to Yankee Engineering and Testing, as they were the low bid by $25,000 and were recommended by Colliers.
Great.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
super. And as long as it's being done and followed up on, this has been a super discussion. If you get the message that I'm saying here, I'm actually happy to support Mr. Teachin going on the committee. I don't know, that may not be what anyone wants to, I don't want to, I'm not, they're not going to like me on that committee, and I don't want to join a committee that that people won't shake my hands on. So I would support Mr. Teachin going on that committee.
John, are you interested?
Or John.
You think he's controversial? I mean, sure, I'll go on the fight, I'll do that. But I'm not sure that I'm gonna bring a different, he's a smarter version of me.
No.
So like the idea that you come into it, but I think that we should be having some, I wish we had more constructive tension conversations during the process. So I love the fact that you've been such a deep observer, and you can tell, just the way you can tell. So, I mean, I feel pretty fortunate to have Jacob here and his insights, so that's why I nominated Jacob. I think he would be great on that committee, and I think it would go to help you establish yourself and I don't think it has to be a ill will that you're there. I think it's just the opposite, start to some bridges, credibility and trust on both sides, and start to have some productive conversations. So my perspective, I think those are good things. So that makes me actually more convicted that you're the guy, but that's just one person. I mean, yeah.
So if you got Jacob, and then Jacob supports me,
Well, I think, but I think and I do think having you on Peasley is fantastic, and dedicated time and your bandwidth, and not that you can't do both, but it's a good opportunity for Jacob to come and wrestle around in it and help make it better. So I
Wrestle
like that.
is not the first word that I'd like to.
So since it seems it's your decision, would you like some time to think about it? This is all kind of coming down on you suddenly.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that whoever is appointed has a broad scope of, how we're working. And I don't mind your questions at all. I think they're normal questions that should have been brought up and should be responded to. But I also want to make sure that the person I appoint has goodwill, and they're, going to be working collaboratively with everybody, and not the, naysayer and block to progression. But other than that,
Can I nominate this one here? I don't know if we're not voting anymore.
I'm so
whatever.
confused.
Well, it-
There's
it-
I made a
so-
mistake, I'm sorry.
It appears that we don't have a vote, that you
so,
appoint.
yeah. I wanted consensus, of course. So, yeah, let me think about it.
Okay. And we'll bring it up next meeting. They're probably not meeting,
Unless-
are they meeting soon, or for anything substantial, or?
They do have based on the last meeting, anything between up to 10, Chief Parenti has authority on, anything between 10 and 25. This is about, and by the way, I have nothing against run-of-the-mill needs that happen as a big construction project like this. I would anticipate that, and that this kind of authority is needed somewhere. Totally. Between 10 and 25, if I remember right, they gave that authority to the chair of the FSBC and/or the vice chair, but now I think that the vice chair was Mr. Coe. I don't know. But at least the chair has that authority. And then above 25, they would need to call a special meeting. So if they do have something that comes up that they need quick, big dollar authority on, they will have to call a special meeting.
Okay.
That's what I know about their next meetings. I'm sorry, that's not probably too helpful.
So it seems like between now and their next meeting, that we have some time to play with, for you to think about who you
Yeah.
would like to appoint.
Yep.
Mrs. Sartori, what is it, 465 Green Street?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess, for me, my understanding is that you appoint the members of the fire station committee. Is that correct?
That's correct.
We also have a former member of this board who is on that committee also. Has there been a determination if that gentleman will be staying? And then
No,
somebody new is...
the position will be replaced with a selectman. The position is a selectman position, so whoever I appoint.
So he will no longer serve on the committee?
Yeah, he can't, it would be full.
Okay, because I didn't get that impression when he was speaking this evening.
Oh,
He's got his hand up, so...
oh, okay.
Mitch?
Yeah.
Mitch, could you,
Hold on, let me.
do you want to offer another public comment? And I don't think that you stated your address before.
I think you need to let me in.
Yeah,
All right. Oh, there,
Oh, we can
okay,
hear
now
you.
I'm in. Okay, it didn't prompt me. You can hear me now?
Yeah?
Great. So I've been on, the multiple versions of this committee since 2017, long since I've been on the board. I'm certainly very interested in continuing. I've been vice chair since 2017. And, in the flip side, Don Rand was chair in 2017 as the select board representative and has continued in that role since. So I think it makes a lot of sense for me to stay involved. We did have a resignation last year of a voting member, so it's not a situation where the board is now full. The board is now actually short one or two if you
I
include my
don't
position,
see
if
that,
you will.
Mitch. I don't
So I
see
think
where
really
there's.
what you're doing is choosing who represents the board on that committee. And I would expect that I would continue on as just a regular voting member and vice chair unless there's some reorganization, which I wouldn't anticipate but could happen. But that's a completely separate question than the board's representation there.
Okay, I don't have that, I only have one position open. The feasibility study was a different committee. This committee is completely full of the citizens at large as well.
All right.
All right, we can talk about that offline.
Okay.
So my point is, I think you're going to have to make a decision on whether or not this extra person stays. And plus, you're going to have to make a decision about one of your members from the Board of Selectmen. I think that this is a time when you all can start to trust one another, learn to collaborate with one another, and think about what's really the best thing to do for that committee to get that fire station built on time. We don't want to hold it up and have cost overruns. All of the questions you're asking are legitimate. I think you should have trust, possibly in Mr. Tejan or somebody else, but nobody else seems to want to do it. I think Jonathan's questions are very similar to yours. So I think you need to pick somebody that you think will be the best representation to make sure that the fire station gets done on time and under budget.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So you'll get back to us?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is to vote on the subcommittee recommendations for appointments to boards and committees. We have 3 volunteers who would like to be on Cultural Council. Did you
Yeah.
two interview?
We did, yes.
Want to make any comments, or?
Feels like 1,000 years ago.
I enjoyed the interviews with Mike. The candidates were great.
Yeah.
I had some notes, and I, for some reason, can't find them offhand, but they brought some neat skill sets to the table. I think Marcos had some experience from a planning perspective. Nope, that's the wrong one.
I
Sorry.
think Karen, in her thing,
Karen
Karen is an artist.
Great with organizing skills. Oh, here we are. So so I'll go back to Marcos. So he's got experience with nonprofits. He's spent a lot of time familiarizing himself with contracts, and he's got some neat background to bring to the committee, especially with that side of their work. Karen Clark has been involved with the Northborough Girl Scouts for decades and is very familiar with a lot of different organizations in the community and how she can pull that forward. She's also got a background in art, so I think that'll be neat to pull together. And she's very organized. And then Morgan Clark had also applied. Morgan comes with a background in graphic design and really savvy with social media. And it seems like their different backgrounds will be a neat complement to that board. Mike, did you have it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you laid it out well. Thank you for being prepared to go over that.
Teamwork.
Yeah. No, I mean, and again, you know, it's fun being on the interview committee, you know, because you get to see the wonderful and talented and interesting people that are right here in town who want to volunteer their time to make it better. You know, we got a taste of that the other night when we interviewed candidates for the select board, and every time we do our interview committee, whether it's Laura and I, or Julianne and I, or you two, you know, who helped the other day, you know, it's great that, you know, they make it easy for us because, you know, they come with great experience and great resumes and are just wonderful people to talk to. So that's the best part, that, you know, they make it easy to bring the recommendation to the board, so.
And I think we should also comment that Angie does a great job helping us get those facilitated and up and running.
Yeah.
So many thanks to her for her work.
Absolutely.
She was great behind the scenes to make sure we stayed on track.
Yeah, that's good.
So, having heard these great recommendations, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that Marcos, Paul Marin, Karen Clark, and Morgan Clark be appointed to the Cultural Council for terms of 3 years to expire on May 19th, 2028.
Second.
Thank you.
We'll do a raised hand vote. All those in favor? Unanimous. Congratulations, and thank you so much for volunteering, and thank you to the Cultural Council. Okay, so next is reports. Laura?
I want to welcome Jacob and John to the board. I'm looking forward to working with both of you, and if there's anything that I can help you with as you're getting onboarded, please let me know. Mike and Julianne, I'm really looking forward to this year working as a board together, and I thank you for that. I don't have any other reports at this point, but thank you.
Mike?
Yeah, sure. So from the Peasley Building Committee, there was a walkthrough of Peasley last Thursday, which was well attended. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend just because of work, but so it was well attended. It was a good walkthrough per the chairwoman Erica. Looking at maybe getting also some help from cable and technology to do some footage of the building and have that available for you know, presentations and pointing out you know, what its current state is. So that's something looking forward to. The next meeting is on May 27th, which is to go over OPM applications and kind of get down to a short list for further scrutiny. And yeah, I think that about wraps it up for my reports. Again, I would like to say I look forward to working, obviously, with my colleagues from the previous select board session, or whatever we call it, and the two gentlemen here to my left. You know, I look forward to lively debate and hopefully good decisions for the town and you know, handshakes and whatnot after the meeting. So
Love it.
I don't have a report, but thrilled to be here.
Same, nothing to report. Thank you for letting me join you. And to my several months ago comment to Mr. Tejan about being the most green member, now I guess that's me.
Right now the
so-
tables have turned.
Well, of course, I'd like to say welcome also, and if there's anything that we can do to help you, you seem to have hit the ground running. I'll say this was a very productive meeting.
Definitely.
And I just want to give kudos to the Cultural Council for another successful open studios that they had on Saturday. There were a lot of artists that got to display their work, and they do some really great work. And I don't, I want to take this opportunity at this point now, though, to say, talk about, so we have the Memorial Day schedule.
Oh, yes.
And
Yep.
generally, someone from our board speaks.
Are there any veterans, just wondering, or anyone that has been in the military, or no? Okay, I was just wondering that. That would have been great, but that's okay.
Is there anyone who would like to speak, who has a passion about our armed services? And of course, Memorial Day is for people who have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take away from anybody who wants to really do it, but if we do need somebody to be there to speak, I can certainly do it. I'm not a veteran myself. I've had veterans in my family, and member of my family who we would celebrate on Memorial Day because he was killed in action. So I could certainly speak and do that for the board.
Anyone else? Well, I do have to say that around Veterans Day when we met, you made a lovely comment, a very heartfelt comment about, I believe it was your uncle. That you
Grandfather.
called him every.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So I think you'll do a great job.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great.
Do you communicate that to Karen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right,
For
and,
stepping up to do that.
Sure.
I'll be there. Are we going to be marching or
Yeah.
participating?
yeah,
Okay.
I guess we muster at 11:30. Are you all
I
available?
think so, this coming Monday?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. Send me the,
Okay, so next is future agenda items, and you've already, I'm sorry? Oh, staff reports, yes.
Oh,
Sorry.
staff reports.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you. No, no.
The fire department, we have the groundbreaking at the new fire station, 3 PM, May 21st. For police, Chief Griffin shared that the next staff meeting on June 10th will include a workplace threat training for all of the staff, so the building will be temporarily closed, but we have, of course, the drop-off out front, we have online permitting, and it'll be well notified, but we've been waiting for this safety training for a long time, so that's great. Let's see, Veterans Affairs Memorial Day Parade at noon on the 26th. Let's see, Health and Human Services, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. Caitlin and Liz have been doing a great job with case management applications and initiating counseling services, which are now available. Increase in nuisance issues primarily related to housing. Speaking of housing, we have the Neighborhood Renewal Project through the Attorney General's Office. They're coming in to make a presentation June 12th, so everyone's invited. This is to focus, June 12th at 11 a.m. in this meeting room. It focuses on abandoned properties, using legal tools like receivership, and the state fortunately will handle that, so we don't have to, which our housing staff deals with a lot of those issues. Recreation, the last day of school carnival event, Be Well. That's scheduled for Tuesday, June 17th, from 1 to 4 at Ellsworth McAfee Park. Only town departments and community groups are allowed to have booths, no outside vendors permitted. We have a new after-school programming plan, so 3 days a week, rec will be in the schools with their own little programs, whether or not it's like a Lego program or whatnot. So that's exciting. The schools are very excited about that because her programs are amazing. The town clerk, election day was very successful. We thank all of our poll workers and Andy and his office staff. Final results consisted of moderator Fred George, select board John Ray, woo!
Thank you.
Planning board Bill Pierce and Carter Brannon for a partial term. School committee Bryce Adam McKnight. Northborough, Southborough Schools Joan Gallafrank. Northborough, Southborough Regional Matthew Spencer. The town has received the proceeds from its $36 million bond, marking the largest single financial transaction in the town's history, surpassing even payouts to the city of Marlborough. So if that's good news, I don't know, but it's news. Planning department, the dog park is expected to be open around June 1st. Opening ceremony will be scheduled when the date is confirmed so that we can have a ribbon cutting, and hopefully Marshall will be the MC. We're hoping. Yeah, that'd be good, huh? Department of Public Works paving season, Davis Street is underway, single lane, bi-directional traffic in place, sidewalks are being redone, but no curbs will be installed. I asked Scott on the status, and he said a few more weeks, so just stay patient. The police station is finally being painted a beautiful blue. Cable access, coordinating with schools for the high school graduation, which is their second largest production after annual town meeting. Events include live streaming on TV and YouTube with overflow viewing in the forums. Planning and advertising are done well in advance. Town meeting approved a new server, so they're beginning to install that. They're going to be taking the server and broadcast equipment from the high school to the IT room, where we have the new air conditioning, fortunately. And that's at no cost to the town. Charter is going to work with them as well as Verizon. Senior Center, that the first bullet is wrong. Carol is getting immersed in the new staff and, operations and internal process, so they're making their way wonderfully. Planning a small update to the lobby to make it look a little bit more tidier, and she's working with the building inspector just to make sure that, access ways are all clean and how they should be. The senior center is also offering summer coffee events planned. Mine is in July. So it's just to help with communication, public engagement, which is wonderful. And Carol has been amazing, reaching out and working with our rec center, with our library, so she's very collaborative, and we love that. We met recently with the WRTA to discuss contract changes for fiscal year '27. Westborough was new to this program, which is called Mobility Management Model. So we typically had a lot of pickups in Westborough, but now that they're a participating community, we're going to have a little less. We still pick up for Boylston. There's some changes. We used to, I forget the amount of hours, I think it's like 12 or 17 hours. They reimbursed us for administration pay per week. They stated that that's no longer, we're going to be kind of treated like all of the other towns, which we still have to negotiate the contract. They're not doing anything this fiscal year, 26. The changes would occur in 27. So there's a little bit of oddities, when questioning them about what our current contract was and how it was set up. Like, for instance, we take our vans and we fill up in Westborough, and that just doesn't make any sense because we get reimbursed by them anyway. So we have our pumps, why can't we fill up here? And there's just a lot of things that we have to work on, and yeah, so that will be in play, but they're really trying to provide for more pickups in Northborough in general. It won't be the entire town, but it's going to become a lot more widespread. Let's see, Building Department, Fire Department held a meeting at the new station site. A pre-construction meeting will be scheduled. Conservation requested some corrections, causing a brief 1 to 2 delay. Contractors were reminded to review all notes from boards, the building inspector, et cetera, to pay attention to fine print so we can make sure that we're not losing any more days. They're also planning to raise their building fees because this hasn't been done for numerous years. When I say numerous, I think it's like 20, something, yeah. And he's in the process right now of doing a comparative study. I have a funny story, quick. So he was looking for Joe Atchu that used to work here years ago. He did a study and nothing came to be. It was like 8 years ago, I think. And so I was just like, you had the same email address when I worked here in 2015, and he worked in my office. I was in health and he was in building. So I Googled it. I searched for it on my email and boom, it popped up and no one could find it. And I'm like, well, thank God I used to work here. So it worked out good. So now we have something to compare to. So yes, and it'll work out perfect because July 1, the new building codes come to play. So at least we'll be able to look at that. MIS, GIS, we talked about the cybersecurity incident response plan that we're working on with the grant. They installed the new Cisco router at the police station. It includes routers, switchers, firewalls, and devices that are commonly used by the government agencies, including police departments, for secure and reliable network infrastructure, so that's important. A town meeting shout out to Dana, Kaylee, David, and Angie for their behind-the-scenes work during town meeting. Despite losing equipment, they kept things running. A lot of people didn't know, but he called literally a half hour before. He's like, Steph, we have no sound. I was like, what? What? So he finagled this old audio system, and yeah, so thank you very much.
That's awesome. They did a great job.
Amazing, yep. Peasley School Building Committee, congratulations to our very own Mike Tejan, who will now serve on that committee. And like you said, they're choosing their OPM and shortlisting it soon. And yes, so that's under the way. We're very busy. That's all. And I have part of it, this was my draft proposal for next meeting, but now that we've talked a little bit more, I do want to have White Cliffs come in, if we could possibly arrange them to come in. But what's very important is to have us all on the same page, including appropriations, financial planning. This is a tentative, if you look at number 3, a tentative schedule. So we have a financial statement coming before us from Scanlon Associates, so they want to come in and, just talk about the town and how we're doing financially, and I think it's important for all of those boards and your board and committees to hear. Then I think it's important for us all to be at the table for the after action following town meeting. That would be, very progressive to think right now, okay, where are we? What mistakes have we made? What have we learned from, and where we're going? Future budget schedule, so possibly the department head forum in September. Maybe the end of September, begin the capital budget meetings. January, discuss more collaboratively on warrant articles. The select board, sets the warrant articles, but I think it would be helpful if the other committees, had some weigh in or some remarks. March, reconvene to review where we are in the budget process, because a lot happens quickly, and I just want to make sure, again, we're on the same page. And then in April, that's when we have to set the warrant according to the charter. So if we, just come together every couple of months, I think it will do wonders for us. Where I would love to see everybody is at town meeting in support of, everything that we've planned from the onset of the budget season and through to town meeting. It would be terrific. I don't know if it's going to happen, but, I mean, it would just be great. It just sets a great message for the public, and it, you know, of course, provides for more trust than what I think they felt they didn't have. And a lot of it, it's not anyone in particular, there's a ton of transition, you know, with administrators coming and going and people on and off the board, so, yeah, you can understand why, but I just want to set that message that, you know, we're all working together and, yeah, we're one big happy family.
So, Diane, do you have anything?
Yes, I have one thing. I think many of you may know that our beloved town clerk is retiring on July 8th.
What's coming up?
Did you all know that? Yes. And so I posted the vacancy with the deadline of May 30th, and I think we got a couple of good candidates, so.
Great.
Yeah.
And could you put in a pitch for the Woo Sox game?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Did you get the invitation?
I can do it if no one else is going to.
Well, everybody can go.
Okay.
Well, it's tough for me because I would be getting out of work and
Yeah,
having to drive
yeah.
from Framingham.
Unfortunately, I have already booked, I'm
Well,
sorry.
I didn't want to not have Northborough represented, so it wasn't what I had scheduled to do on Wednesday, but if no one else is going to represent Northborough, you can send me, I guess, and I'll happily do it.
And Jacob can bring his family, right?
They have got so much going on. I might be able to bring Everett, my 5-year-old, and he'd be happy to come with. I think they only give us one admission ticket.
Yeah,
I'm
they
happy
only
to-
get one ticket.
I'm happy to pay for his admission and a hot dog for him, but, so that's fine. I can bring Everett with me. I just wanted to make sure we had it covered.
Yeah.
That's great.
yeah.
Probably
I mean,
better
I
if
can-
I go, I might wear a Yankees hat.
You're not allowed.
Gosh.
Nope.
Well, we'll talk about the next later.
I did invite all employees.
Oh,
and
great.
didn't get much of a response, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I got to go last year. It was a
Maybe.
really fun night. They
it's
do a lot to celebrate the
fun.
community.
Yeah.
You get to meet other board members from surrounding towns, so Westboro and Southboro were there last year. It's neat collaboration.
Yeah, that's fun.
I might be able to come later. I said that I would go to scholarship, but I can.
Yeah.
probably.
It looked like they had a pregame ceremony thing that I don't have any clue what it is. Laura might, but.
Did it start on time last time, or was it? 'Cause
There is so much stuff that happens at the beginning. They do a lot of, I think there was a military day. They brought a lot of different nonprofits were in attendance representing, I think the Northborough American Legion baseball team kicked off the event. There was a lot going on that night, and it was just a really enjoyable evening. You do a great job. And it's a battle of the boroughs, so there's all the boroughs there's a lot of towns that are participating.
So you don't have to just throw out the first pitch, I don't think.
No, I sure hope not. For everyone's. So you can count me in on that, and then I think there was an Eagle Scout Court of Honor that you messaged as well. If I can
Oh,
go,
yeah.
and happy to go if the
Great.
board would like me to.
They needed certificates for Eagle Scout projects.
Right here.
Oh, here we go.
So if you'd like me to go to that and deliver it for us, I can do that. I'd be happy to. I'm an Eagle Scout, so
Oh, that's awesome.
hopefully
That's-
accept me.
Great. Yeah,
Great, thank
yes.
you.
They would love someone in person.
Yeah.
That's
I'll,
great.
I'll coordinate that with you. Thank you.
This is great.
All right. We should see if there's anyone who would like to make a comment from the public. Okay, then. Any other business to come before the board? Oh,
Go ahead.
okay.
Just a quick question, I feel, so, prior to my decision to run for select person, June 9th, I'm going to a concert, my son's turning 16. And so it's like the one date I cannot do, so if there's any flexibility on that date, I can be flexible, but we bought the tickets, he's turning 16, and it was,
that's
it was done
nice.
before, otherwise I would have picked a different date.
Yeah, family first.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Austin.
My thing is a little bit more, maybe, sorry, When do we get, do you know when we get the certification from the state about when our last year's free cash availability for the next year? I'm just looking at your calendar of
It's usually
idea.
fall,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I can figure that out later. I'm just trying to figure out, that's a kind of important piece into the
We
rest of
never
these
know, but
puzzles.
we sit like this.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Okay. And, you know, you and I can talk because I think we do have to have some kind of goal setting in all of these meetings coming up, so.
Yeah, we definitely do. Just so, like, for instance, when I said, let's focus on this, let's finish projects and not throw so much on that nothing gets finished. Yeah,
Right, right.
agreed.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? This meeting has completed at, 9:50. 9:50, thank you. All right.